Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, boys and girls, and welcome to the Marcia Reed Show. And we're coming to you live from where? Where is this? Where is this? Barbados. This is a flag of Barbados, and it is a joy to come into your home tonight. Tonight, you are watching an amazing show. We are going to get into the kitchen table talks tonight. Yes, the kitchen table estimate series. We're going back to some things, all right? So we're gonna go back to housing, a little bit on housing tonight. Right here on the Marcia Week Show, we are going to educate, we're going to motivate. Yes, right here on the Marcia Week Show, we're going to agitate right here, right here, right here. Listen, tonight we're going back as well. We're going to look at the ministry of its business, the Carrie Simmons ministry. And why is it slipping me? I have my notes here because they change up the names of those ministries all the time, right? So we're going to go back to that ministry tonight. And I know somebody in the you guys always help me out. Somebody in the comment section is going to tell me, I thought I had it in my head and it went straight out of my head. That's okay. We're going to talk a little bit with you about the oil refinery contamination. And we're going to talk to you about the long-standing fireman promotion dispute that is going on. When we move right into the rise in violent crimes, 2 murders in a single day. Actually, it might be 3, right? And there was a similar pattern just last week. Where are we really heading as a country? We're also going to examine the growing geopolitical tension between the Caribbean and the U.S. We're going to look at the shifting global power. What does that mean for small island states like Barbados, right? Are we strategically positioned or dangerously exposed? We're going to look at that. Also, also, we have some employees from the Grantley Adams International Airport. They have reached out to us. And last night we talked about the bathroom facilities. And now we're going to be raising some concerns from the workers about conditions on the ground there. What is happening at one of our most important national gateways? That's what's coming up tonight on the Marcia Week Show, where we educate, we motivate, we mobilize, and we agitate. Yes, 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 guys. Let me just take this time to welcome Mavis Lashley and Tyrone Hall. Hey, Cedric and Monica Ince and Judith Jilks and Charmaine Taylor. Yes, Angela. Good night, Angela. And Andrea Critchlow, Lucinda, Carol, Bajan Boy, good evening. Lori Bob. I'm a big girl, Cherry Berry, Dinah husband, Beverly Prescott, Judith and Clark, how are you? Hoping to see you on Sunday. Hope everything works out. Shirley, good evening. Annette Brewster, how are you? Born Again, how are you doing, Born Again? Jelaine, Sonia Perch. Sonia, have you been missing class, Sonia? Sonia, have you been missing class? Marva Hunt. Hey, 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 hey. Coloreds. Coloreds, how are you doing? Coloreds, you're from the UK, aren't you? Wonderful, wonderful, guys. It's a pleasure having everybody here tonight. Tonight we are due to have Zico John is due to join us tonight. He's going to be talking with us about the crime and the increase in crime and give his thoughts and various other relevant topics. We have the mighty Glenn Murray is going to be in the house and he's going to talk about housing estimates. That's what he's going to be talking about tonight. And we also have Dr. Ferdinand Nichols is coming on. Oh my Lord, I'm not a lonely girl tonight. We have quite a number of persons who are coming on. But I just want to say to everybody here, hold tight, hold the strain. Something good is happening. Sometimes, you can't see around you. And I told Dave to put up a little picture there for me that I want to just take as I wait on Zika to come in, just 5 minutes to talk to you about something, just to encourage a couple of you who were calling me today, and even over the weekend. I've been talking to quite a number of persons, people who feel a little down, a little depressed. And I believe that some of the crime and that we're seeing happening in the country, I sincerely believe it's part of what is happening to us as a people. It's almost like there's a boiling over into the streets. Do you feel that? That people are just so frustrated. People are not sure what to do with themselves. And I believe that a lot of that is boiling over into the streets. And that's what we're seeing. The adult senior citizens, some of them are home and they're very depressed and they feel like, it's the end of the road for them. And I did up this little picture. I don't know if Dave can find it, a picture with myself and a scripture. And I put it out on my Facebook page and I'm hoping that Dave can find it. And it's really from a story in the Bible with Elisha and his servant Gehazi. And when Elisha said, when Gehazi, when the Assyrian army and all the different armies are coming up against Elisha, and Elisha said, the servant said, "Well, they're going to kill us," and he was so scared. He thought it was the end of the world. And he looked around. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know. Dave, give me a signal. Whether it is You're able to find it? No, not able to find it? Yeah. And Gehazi, the servant said, they're going to kill us. It's not going to, and it's like a lot of you say to me, Marcia, what is the sense of doing all of this? It's nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to change. We can't, it doesn't make any sense. And I look at this picture and I'm smiling. And Elisha prayed. This is what Elijah prayed. Open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see. Then guess what? The Bible says the Lord opened the servant eyes, and he looked and saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. And a lot of you right now, you feel like you're in such a hard place. You feel like you're in such a tough place. You feel like that there's no help for this country. Yes, you feel like I'm a big girl. That's right, I'm a big girl. You feel that there's no help for this country. You feel like nothing is going to happen. Marcia, we're wasting our time, man. What we're doing all of this for. But Elisha prayed, and I'm praying for you tonight. Open your eyes. I pray that God will open your eyes so that you may see, right? And you will look and see the hills full of horses, right? And fire and chariots of fire all around you. Yes. So that is to all of us. Teroni, everybody who is on here, Baby Lashley, Shirley, Cammy, Judy. Sometimes things look as though they're not going to work out, right? And guess what? You see that big smile on my face. I love this picture so much. I love this picture so much. You see all those big, strong angels holding me right there? That's how they're holding you guys, lifting you out of every situation. And that's what they're doing for Barbados. And don't give up. Don't give up. Listen, we're going to talk about it a little later. But, and I'm seeing my good friend, Zico is joining us. But let me tell you something, folks. I'm waiting for official confirmation, but I've been hearing something since December, and I never said anything on the show, and then came up again today, and two persons that I trust sent it to me today. We're still waiting on official confirmation, but I want you to get a little joy. I'm hearing that the developer in the whole town project, remember on March 22nd, 2025, we went on the project there. We went on the march in Whole Town. Who remember that? Let me bring Zico in here to help me. Good night, Zico.
Good night, everyone. Good night, loyal opposition. How are we doing tonight?
Oh, we're doing great, and I know they're doing great. They're doing great, and I'm telling them, Zico, that sometimes, what you're involved in, you can't see the victory right now. You can't see it, and when you're in the middle of a crisis, and I believe we're in a crisis in Barbados right now, you can't see past what we're seeing. We can't see past the gunshots that we're flying today, Zico. We can't see that. But my prayer is if Dave would put that back on the screen, Dave, thank you. Unless you have something else that you're putting on. Is that as you pray, it is my prayer as you pray. Dave? Okay. It's my prayer as you that your eyes will be opened up. Your eyes will be opened up and you will be able to see what God is doing in Barbados. You see, we're in a continuum. You see, this month, and then January went to February, March, and April, and that's how you're looking at it. But there is a bigger picture that is being painted. And we remembered when we were in Whole Town, And there were people, some people were laughing at us when we were down there. Yeah. Some people were laughing at us, saying all kinds of things. But now we're hearing, and I heard since December, and as I said, I was very disciplined about it. I said nothing because I was waiting. But then today, several persons said, Marcia, did you hear what happened? Right? Several persons said, Marcia, did you hear what happened? I said, what happened? They said, Marcia, we're hearing from very good sources that the developer pulled out of whole town. Zico, that's what we're hearing today. That the
Yeah.
developer pulled out of whole town. That is powerful stuff. If that
Very.
is really so, and if anybody out there, if you have the documentation for that, to let us know that what has happened. And so we would have seen victories, so many victories, guys. And that's why I say, don't give up. Elisha prayed, open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see. Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked and saw hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. And I'm praying that for you, for everybody who is on. Zico, any thoughts about that before we go on?
Yeah, I mean, you have to celebrate small victories, These are things that we rallied for. These are things you've been crying out for. So when we see stuff like this, say, everything all formed together, all together one time. But when we see things like this, we know that something is moving as well. It's not always bad, it's not always darkness. And as they always say, there's more for us than us against us. So we celebrate this small victory, a small misstep in their plan going forward.
Yes. And the one of the things I want to say before we jump into our first topic, Zico, is I want to say that sometimes we are waiting on a politician to help us. This march that was held in Whole Town was not put together by politicians. It was the people. It was called a love march, and we came together from all walks of life in the whole town. Yes, politicians came, but it wasn't organized by politicians. It was organized by the people.
People,
No
yeah,
politician gave $1 for this. None gave. Nobody. No politician was at a meeting.
yeah.
This was people power, and that's what we want to get over to Barbadians to understand. That this is about the people. It's the power of the people to accomplish great things in Barbados and to be encouraged about that. Tico?
Yeah, correct. I echo those sentiments as well. Understand that people is the power, and we who put the people in power as well. So letting our voices be heard and letting people know, that no, this is not what we're gonna accept. Coming on, advocating and speaking up against these things, and get to say, it's working. I don't want people to think that, man, we're just doing this all for nothing. We just can't afford to give up. No, we gotta continue to stay on the horse, and ride the race, and ride the course. And then they guarantee more stuff like this as well. This is not the first situation where we saw a march had some impact on the island. This is not the first situation or the second situation. So seeing the people coming out and letting the voices be heard, letting the concerns be heard, and letting them know that Barbados belongs to us, the people, and we, us, the people who gave you all the power to make those decisions. So I commend the people, I commend the loyal opposition, I commend every single person out there, I commend you as well, Marcia. I commend Dave as well, for everybody who really got together and really mobilized and made it happen, man. I mean, like, this is really a victory to be celebrated.
It is, and I can't wait for, and I don't think that we're going to hear anything official because it's going to be quiet
Yeah,
until
it will be.
they're probably going to be trying to find another developer.
Yeah,
But I'm
yeah,
hearing from very good sources that the developer said it's too much controversy
yeah.
and they don't want to be part of it. It's too much controversy and they're gone. They're out of it. And I don't mind, the prime minister was saying that you can't do anything now. The deal is done. She said the deal is done, and then another minister said the deal wasn't done. So there was something going on there. But
Yes.
the deal obviously wasn't done because the developer pulled out. Gone. ICBL is out of it. It's too controversial. And they're gone. That is what we're hearing. So everybody who was on this, you need to recognize that you did not walk in vain. You did
They not,
not walk in vain. Right, Zico?
yes, they did not walk in vain. I mean, like honestly, people, this really brings joy to my heart because it's us, the people, it's us, the people who was out there in the hearts, and it's us, the people who let the voices be heard. And this goes to show sometimes that same noise that they say we make, it penetrates. It penetrates even into the heart of man who was not even aware. Everybody's not intentionally out there trying to be wicked. Everybody's not intentionally out there. Some people are unaware. So sometimes letting our voices be heard and making the noise that we make and going out there and speaking to people. No, with this up, Noah, I don't want any part of it. And they wash their hands from certain situations and the exit stage left. So it's us, the people, once again, and I really want to commend them greatly.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Barbados, don't give up. And don't sit and wait on a politician. And I
Yeah.
really hope that we would have learned that over this entire time that
Yes.
we've been doing this show. We have put on these marches by ourselves, you guys paid for them, for these marches. You come on every night, you like, you share, you talk, tell people about the show, you comment. This is part of you, And as Zika said, this is not the first thing. With the big thing that we had was when we went to Washington
Oh, shit.
with the cybercrime bill that they have sitting there, and they know that if they come out with that bill again, we're going back. We're going to shut this country down. If they come back with the cybercrime bill again, this country shut down. So they might as well keep it where it is. Can't come out.
Yes,
Can't
and I
come
will
out.
also like, even to add to that, especially now more than ever, not having an opposition in place. We got to make our voice much more loud. We really got to let people hear what's going on. You got to speak up for those, speak up for the voiceless, and get out there. We can't wait for people to come and save us all the time. Sometimes we have to save ourselves. We can't wait for somebody to jump in the gap. Yes, we had the Honorable Ralph Tarn to the aid, but now he's no longer in him. So now we got to really step forward and let our voices be known and speak. People, don't be scared. Don't be scared. It matters. Your voice does matters.
Yes. And JC, I want to address this here, on the screen, JC, and it's real because I hear from people every day up to today, several calls. People are still living out their disappointment at the election results and don't want to hear anything concerning politics. I know that. I know that. But what I want you to see from this picture tonight, and remember Joe's River. Listen, we've had so many victories together as a group of people, and that is what we want to communicate. That is what we want to communicate, and we've said it over and over. Listen, yes, we go out and we vote, but as Zika says, we are still the people that put them in power. It is
Yes.
still the people power. It's all up to us. We hire and we fire. Okay? And we have the power to go out there and demand what we want. We can shut down this country. Look at the airport controllers. Look at what they were able to accomplish. Did you see that
Yes.
the controllers? You saw
Yeah.
what they were able to accomplish.
Yes.
Everything stood still. In every country knew that something was happening in Barbados with people that this government decided they weren't going to listen to, but those people had the guts. And that's what I'm saying. When you get the guts, you will shut down the country and let them listen to you. And actually, I want to thank God for those at the Grantley Adams Airport. Let's segue into our first segment here about what is happening at the Grantley Adams International Airport. And I want to commend those who work there, who decided to overcome the fear and to talk about what's happening at the airport. I believe something is great is happening there. The workers are coming together. Somebody I even spoke to today, one of the workers, she said, I was part of the union. I left that. I left the union because the union isn't helping me. All right. And so we are asking tonight, what is happening at our only Barbados' only international airport, our gateway, our first impression, our last impression, right? Industrial action from air traffic controllers. The public bathroom facilities. Dave, you have it there? Invisible disrepair. Have you seen the picture, Zico? Okay, Zico dropped out. Okay, it's coming right back in.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw it. Yeah.
So, right. This is what is happening at our Grantley Adams International Airport. All right. And if it wasn't for a passenger who was traveling back to, I think it's the UK or the US, they came Bajans and they came for vacation and they were going back. And they experienced it in either September or November, twice, I think September, November. They wrote a letter. Zico, you heard that? They wrote a letter about it, and nothing was done to it. They were coming back again, leaving just last week after seeing it earlier in the year, or late last year. Wrote a letter, nothing happened, and now they took a picture and sent it to us. This is what is happening, and this is what I'm saying, that the citizens, they need to fight back, right?
Yes.
Reports of worker dissatisfaction, and a stalled public-private partnership proposal, and these are not isolated dots. There is something that is happening at the Grantley Adams Airport, Barbadians. All is not well there. They form a pattern, right? The bathrooms. You know, when you see this, you look at this picture, Zico, the bathroom, right? Dave, if we could see that picture again. When you see this here, what are you thinking, Zico? As a Barbadian?
Yeah, it's reminiscent of it looks like the bus terminal bathroom, to be honest, you know. And I am glad that something has not been yeah, but it's the first time I said it was a low green or whatever they changed the name to recently, bus terminal, and it is sad. But this is what we're speaking about when we're talking about people power. We live in an age right now where technology and social media is running rampant, and public perception of great entities and government is their biggest concern. So if they're looking to protect their image and looking to protect the optics, and you see something that you do not agree with, post about it, speak about it, take the pictures, take the evidence, and present it to the public. This is the only way we can get things done, and this is the best way to do it right now. So this gives people this puts people in a position of power to say, well, listen, I know everybody try to paint everything to be all pretty and all good, but this is the reality that we're dealing with right now, you know. And imagine if this is what's going on with bathrooms. Imagine what's happening behind closed doors in terms of the treatment of the staff. You know, these are the things that's got to look at, because it starts somewhere. It don't just happen out to the blue. It starts somewhere. So imagine the treatment of the staff, the things that happen behind closed doors. Imagine the things that we cannot see in terms of pictures being taken, you know. So I'm glad it brings it into perspective. But really and truly, this is unacceptable, especially for a national airport. This is unacceptable.
Yeah, international, at least. And as you mentioned, workplace, you know, we look at the internal workplace climate. And just as though that citizen took that picture and decided to break the culture of silence and to share it after writing 2 letters, they decided to take that picture, right? Now we have people within the workplace right there at the Grantley Adams Airport. They are telling people about their concerns. These are concerns that they're having. They're talking about worker dissatisfaction. Claims are being made of inconsistent pay structures. There are reports that similar roles are compensated differently. So if you're liked, then you're paid at a different rate.
Yeah.
Right? It's similar roles.
Yeah.
Go
But this
ahead.
comes
Go
back
ahead.
down to the same pattern. This comes back down to the same pattern that we're seeing in terms of Barbados, in terms of the EHR. how HR is really operating in Barbados in terms of multiple different institutions as well. How's the HR really functioning within? We hear a lot of favoritism and who the dog like he licks and who he doesn't he bite. So it comes down to what's going on in terms of the HR, and is there something structured? Is something in place, or is it just that we could just run rampant and how we decide we feel like somebody, we give somebody some level of favor, we give somebody a raise, or we give somebody a position that is either not qualified for, just because. So I think these things that we need to look into, especially when it comes into human resource departments within Barbados, especially when it comes to the government institutions, and it also comes down, especially here now with the national airport.
Yes, yes, definitely. And one of the things Michelle Russell was saying is that for years they want an amendment to the Employment Act, and years now the
Yes.
Employment Rights Act, and she says, Michelle Russell, she says it's years that they've been waiting on that, and the government goes in, gets back into power, and the first bill that they pass, it's an amendment to the Constitution that consolidates their power and really says to us, this is a one-party parliament. Nobody can cross the floor. Not Employment Rights Act. What has happened to that? That act has been sitting on the shelves, Zico, and they didn't touch it, and that would impact the workers at the airport. I think we're having a little difficulty there with Zico. Zico, are you hearing me?
Yeah, you hear me? Yeah.
Yes,
But yeah,
hearing
I
you
hear you
now.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
You
and
weren't hearing.
it also, but then it speaks then to the priorities. It speaks to the priorities in terms of even the bills are being passed. What's the priorities? Is it the priorities of the people, or is it priorities for those that are in power to secure power, to secure absolute power, or to have a greater hold on power? So it speaks to the priorities and the direction that this government looks to go in. It's not have anything to do with trying to help the small man, or just even to help the everyday man, to live a adjustable and sustainable life. So it really speaks to the priority and the direction that this government goes and looks at. Like, seriously, that was the first thing that you decided that needed to be addressed as soon as you got into power. I wish it's sad, and not only was it sad, it was also sad at the fact that you never even mentioned it in your manifesto. You never even mentioned it leading up to the elections. So you were always had it in your back pocket. And as soon as they get in, this way can jerk at the public, this way can jerk at the people, to secure absolute power. And that's what it was. So it comes back down to the priority of how this government looks at its people. And it does not see things in terms of people, in terms of the workplace. It does not look at the Employment Act. It does not look at anything of being a man. It does not look and see in terms of the cost of living. It doesn't deal with anything along those lines. It tries to secure us who have to continue to have.
Yes. I'm going to ask everybody to pause and to like and to share. If you notice, the numbers are going up and down, up and down. And when you see that's happening, there is a lot of reporting that is going on. And I know this, I'm telling you, is really one of those voices of opposition in Barbados. And they don't want this voice to be happening. They don't want this to be taking place. They don't want the show. And I know I've been saying that to you. I'm asking everybody, can you stop for a moment, like and share? We wait on you. You're not going to miss anything. Please do that. Please do that. Please like and share. Everybody, take a moment and do that now, please. Important. We've got to fight back. It's the algorithm, and if they are saying that there's something wrong with the show, and that we have hate speech or whatever, all that's going to happen. They're going to put us lower in the feed, and and people can't find us. That's what happened when you call me and say, Marcy, I can't find the show. All right, so you need to like and tell the algorithm that you like it. Right? So you've got to like it. Click the like button. Everybody, click like, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, share, put it in your WhatsApp groups, in your church group, on your Facebook page, whatever you need to do right now. If everybody, we fight back. All right. And I'm very happy for these workers They talk about going to the ombudsman. That some of the matters that they've given up. They've given up on the
Yeah.
union. They've gone. There are lots of union memberships. They've moved away from that. There is frustration regarding payout requests. So some of them want to be paid out to get out, and they can't get paid out, right? And they're saying there's a lot of communication tensions around management decisions
Yeah.
that's happening there at the Grantley Adams International Airport. The staff, they are talking, the whistleblowers, they are talking, they are coming out, and we're asking Grantley Adams International Airport, what is happening to your employees there? What is going on there? What is it like in the workplace? Do you have internal workplace conflict? Is that what's going on? Is it true that people are not being compensated properly? That you are the same roles, but you're compensating people differently? Are your performance metrics standardized then? Because you're paying one person one thing, one another. And this is what the Employment Rights Act, would deal with these kinds of
Deal with.
things.
Yes. Yes. But then even when you look at some of the unions as well, there's also conflict of interest within a lot of the unions as well, and that's something I think that should be separate when it comes, especially when it comes down to government and certain entities being involved in terms of certain trade unions and having some level of involvement, and still also benefiting from some of these same businesses as well, monopolizing it, as you should say, in certain areas and certain businesses. So I even think that's a conflict of interest. So yes, the people have to give up and say, well, you know what, it's a waste of time going to the union to deal with this particular matter because the XYZ is friends with or XYZ is associated with. So they don't believe that they can get the justice that they're looking for. So then they come in once again to platforms like these social media to speak about their concerns, to speak about what it is that's plaguing them, to speak about the injustice, to speak about the unfair pay, to speak about something needing to be done, and writing a letter goes to show what they take the correct steps. It's not a malicious employee. It's not someone who was just came out to the blue and said, well, you know what, I just upset because they didn't get a promotion. They went through the correct means and correct process and steps. They wrote letters. They didn't get any resolve. And they decide, no, well, I think I need to let the public know what's going on. I think I need to let the public know what's going on within this national airport, and something needs to be done. So when we see things like this, it's not just disgruntled people, as some people want to put them out. That's just a disgruntled employee. Yeah, but for instance, go down and things will be out of service. People try to justify certain situations, but it's more than that. It's not just certain things being out of service. So yeah, we understand that things happen, but when you're hearing people say not being paid on time, when you hear people speaking about the conditions, the environmental conditions, some things not being sanitary, the unfair work environment for people have to go and endure every single day. Some people getting promoted, some people getting positions that was never warranted to them in the first place, unfair treatment, favoritism, them kind of things is things now we have to look at and say, well, it's a bigger issue and it's a structural issue that needs to be looked at.
Hmm. I love how you say a structural issue because a lot of times, Dave, this is I'm going to get to this one very soon. Is this the fire department, Dave? Yeah, we're going to get to this one very soon. But a lot of times, I put this on my Facebook page with the bathrooms, and there's the people right away start to say it's the lazy workers that don't want to clean the bathroom. But the reality of it is this: if you are managing a place,
Correct.
yeah, right, am I not right,
You're
Zico?
correct.
You
100%.
because you have a business. If you are the manager, you are in charge. All right, this goes right up to the minister. The bathroom in this condition goes right back to the minister. It's how the place is being managed, how the airport is being managed. You are the minister over it. There's a permanent secretary. Come on.
Yep. Yep, there's no excuse for it. As you said, once again, it comes back down to management. And if, for some instance, first it should be it starts from basically an employee, then it goes to the supervisor, will come and supervise, make sure things is going correct. If things are not going correct, then it will take it to the superior, which will probably then be a manager that oversees the particular operation, you know, whether is this a clean or to rather to make. So there's so many different steps in place. So when we see stuff like this falling through the cracks, what we know for sure is a managerial issue. You know, you can't blame the person and say, man, the person just ain't cleaning the bathroom properly. No, there are people in place to make sure you supervise and manage it correctly. So that would be a poor excuse for anybody to come and try to blame it on the workers themselves not doing their job or they're being lazy. That's very poor.
And you know, this comment says that these are malfunctioning equipment, nothing to do with workers at all. And so that's very, very important that for us to understand. And a lot of times we just love to blame each other.
Yeah.
You know, the poor man, the person who cleaned the bathroom
Yeah.
is their problem. What they have to do with this? They can fix a toilet. They're supposed to fix the toilet. They must fix the urinals. But that's just the way we are,
Yes.
right? You know,
And even
that's
if that
just
was
the
the
way we
case, and
are.
even if that was the case, let me say it was down to the lack of having a proper maintenance team. It still comes back down to management. You put in a work order, and there's a deadline for something to be fixed, and it should be fixed. This is not acceptable. This is poor excuse in 2026. Come on, in 2026, you're trying to tell me you can't get a urinal fixed or replaced after making all the millions and millions of dollars to finish. Come on, it's poor management. Poor management.
It is. It is. And I really think, I mean, you know, I know that Barbados just put back that minister, the minister in charge of tourism and transport, just to put him back in power. But he needs to be fired. It really needs to be fired. Look at what it's an embarrassment that's happening at the Grantley Adams International Airport to have you know, all those planes that couldn't land, they have to turn back. People can't leave. You know, it was a crisis, and then now we're seeing that this has been happening now for months with this bathroom and the bathrooms, and now you hear the workers are complaining. And you know, Zico, there was something that they were doing, and we need the government to give us an account of this. The public-private partnership proposal, right? They love to do this public-private partnership, you know, situations,
Yeah.
right? And this was a major restructuring idea where foreign partnership was involved, right? And it was reportedly stalled. And we have a couple questions to the government because we know they're watching. Remember to like and share, guys. Share, 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 share. Like. Just hit that like button there. Right, the thumbs up button. Why did it fall through, government? We don't know. That's the thing is that when we don't have an opposition, then you don't know these things. Was it financial terms?
Correct.
Was it governance issues? Was it public resistance? What happened? Was there an internal disagreement with this foreign investor and Barbados? What happened? Are you seeking a new partner? What is the current status? How important do you think this is, Zico, that we know what's happening? How important do you
What
think
you
this
what,
is?
what you said is very important. What you said is very true. The first of all is this. This is what I tend not to understand. When it comes to the promotion or when it comes to campaigning, the government is very on point in terms of its PR team. It has a very strong PR team to speak on its behalf when it's time to campaign. Right? When it's time now to bring some level of transparency, whether it's a bill, whether it's an agreement, whether it's a contract, you know, whether it's foreign trade, this is where it becomes lacking. And then, especially now going forward for the next 4 to 5 years or whatever, how much years, not having an opposition. Transparency is one of the hardest things. Is going to become that's going to take the common, especially when it's not in favor of the government, especially when it comes at the expense of failure of the government. Someone coming out and saying, well, listen, we had a sit down, you know, certain negotiations that went our way based on or because of, you know, or the lack of, you know, and that's the sad thing about it. There's no one that can come out and say, well, this is where we stand, you know, and I think that they need to understand that transparency is not only for when things go in their favor, but transparency is also saying, well, yes, we feel in this particular area, or we feel to sort, or we feel ought to. and taking some level of accountability. But it only works in one way with this government. Once it's good news, or once it's the campaign, or to advertise a party or something.
Yes, yes. But we're going to move to another topic, and I want to ask everybody if you have questions or comments about the Grantley Adams International Airport, about the public, about the private public partnership agreement. If you want to make a comment about that, you want to comment about the some of the concerns of the workers at the airport that are complaining about their working conditions at the airport, the conditions of the bathrooms, the controllers. Oh God, if you have any questions or comments about that, at 9 o'clock, we're going to open the phone line and you can call in to make those contributions. Okay. Now we're going to switch, Zico, because I only have 15 minutes left with you. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about. I had up first two murders in one day, right? But I'm before after I did up the show, it seems like there might be another one.
Yeah.
I am not sure. I'm not sure as yet, but it seems like there might be another one. So I said two or three murders in one day. I'm just going to turn it over to you, Zico.
Yeah. And it's not. I don't want people see this show as a knee-jerk reaction. I don't want people to see it. Oh, they're only speaking on it because something happened today. I want you to understand this, right? Barbados is going in an upward trajectory when it comes to crime in Barbados. Yes, it is not just a governmental issue. Yes, it's not just down to the PM or the Governor General, it's down to all of us. But the reality is, when we put a government in position, its responsibility is the safety of its citizens, and its responsibility is the safety of our national security as well as domestic. And there's nothing that we've seen recently that have helped either diminish the numbers in crime, and they're not only just diminishing numbers in crime, the type of crimes that we are having. And when we look at it from a psychological perspective, when we hear about broad daylight shootings and stuff along that line, we're talking about vengeance. We're talking about people, from very, very angry people, some very determined people to commit a particular task. So this is not just from out of passion, although yes, some we heard today, which is a possibility. It could be a domestic dispute as well if one of the murders. But when we hear about someone being shooting in broad day, like we know this in this came out of a passion or argument or something. This either retaliation or something much more sinister at play. And we really got to look into it. And the reality of it is that the majority of the tactics that the government have been using, or the policies that have been in place, it is not working. Look at the numbers. When we look at the 90s and we look at the 2000s, we had a whole year with the past, we were still being in single digits. Now we're touching 40 up to 50 a year. And it's continuing like this. The trend is continuing and nothing is being put in place. Once again, we've looked, and the first thing the government decided to do was come and pass a bill that had nothing to do with what is plaguing Barbados today. You understand? It talks again about the priorities of this government. So when we look at what is the government doing to solve this, what is the government doing to at least curb the numbers? I'm not saying that the government could stop a person from taking a gun and shooting a person right away. But if a person believes that he's going to get away with it, and the person believes that there's not much deterrence in place to stop them from committing certain acts, they will do it. If they believe they're going to get off, they will do it. And they do believe, because we read the newspaper every single day and we see the police are doing a really good job in terms of catching these criminals. So why is it that they're coming back out? And the majority, let me put this out frank and clear. The majority of crimes that are being committed in Barbados are by repeat offenders. They're not new criminals that are waking up and doing. They're repeat offenders. So then clearly there's something wrong within the system that people feel so comfortable to after kill once, they can come back out and do it again. So then we need to look on. So what's the issue? Where are these people being so pretty easy to walk up on the streets and commit crime again? So then clearly then we know for sure that there's a fault within the system and it needs to be addressed. And this is how we know for sure that we're failing in this particular direction. What are we going to do? What are the policies being put in place? How are we going to target this? And clearly we can see that this is a gang problem. Clearly, we can see it's a gang problem. Anytime you have a cycle of violence based on retaliation, when you hear 2 and 3 people being shot in the same day, That's signs of retaliation. That's signs of either turf war, a gang war, or something even bigger at play. And these are the questions needing to be asked. What are we going to be doing going forward? Not if it can get better or not, but how are we going to diminish the amount of murders within this country? Because it's now reaching, I mean, a scary place for the citizens within Barbados. I will continue until Martin and arrives. But as I will also then say with this, so what are we going to do? What are some of the recommendations that I would put forth? I think some of the recommendations that I would put forth is in terms of the Bail Act. People who've committed serious crimes being able to come back out and continue to reoccur these acts because we know who they are. It's a small percentage of people who've created this havoc within Barbados. And it's either one, we're going to inject ourselves into it and stop the retaliation and end it and bend the tree now that is young. We're going to tap the school systems, talk to some of the young people, get to understand what's going on within the communities because young people talk. Young people talk. Young people fear for their lives as well. So they will talk. Get into the school systems, find out what's going on within the communities. Understand what good. We know for sure this block A and block B at war. We interject ourselves into the middle and we put to enter it right away. If not, we will continue seeing the things that's happening within Barbados. It's not just to say, well, yes, man, the police need to do the job. The police can only respond to crime, you know. But it's something that definitely needs to be done. We just no longer stamp on the wayside and hope for the best to happen. Because 40 and 50 becoming a norm, and it should never be a norm within Barbados. This is too small for it. Too small. And then when you can casually open a newspaper, or you can listen to your radio and hear someone have shotguns and AK-47s underneath the bed. And then the excuses, or he found them. You know, clearly then we know for sure that something is wrong. Clearly we know for sure that something is wrong and some people are being protected.
Correct. You know, and one of the things somebody wrote there is about mental health. And I know that when we talk about that, sometimes people think that we're trying to, let people off the hook. But I think that there seems to be like a pent up emotion, the pent up emotions. You know, it's like a bottled up, and like you kind of open the cover and it just spills out in the streets. And that's what I was saying at the beginning. Because when I listen to some of even the adults, I listen to elderly people. People are in their homes and they're hurting. They are frustrated. There's a lot of frustration, Zico, in the country. A lot of frustration, and I would love for you to talk about that. And do you think
Yes.
that is that is contributing in any way, and how do we even begin to look at that?
That's a wonderful question, especially for someone who spends a lot of time, especially within the juvenile prison and as well as
Right.
different
In fact,
institutions.
you told me today that you're gonna call me today, guys. He told me, as Zika said, I'm gonna call you when I get it when I leave the prison. And at first, I jumped like that, And then I remembered. I said, "Oh, you was working in the prison." He said, "I'm gonna call you when I leave the prison." But you do work in the prison.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
And I want to show how it affects both the victims and the persons who's basically perpetuating crime within Barbados, especially young people. When you raise up in certain communities and you played football, you run boat, you did sports, you play a little FIFA on the game or whatever. And you grew this relationship, some brotherhood, as everybody would have raised up, if I had a cousin and a friend of a cousin, and eventually everybody basically became family. But what happens is when you have a loss within a community, and especially due to violence, it creates a pain. It creates pain for the mother and it creates pain for that friend. What tends to happen when it happens so often, eventually it desensitizes you. And if that mental trauma and if that grief is not handled, eventually that pain turns into anger, that pain turns into frustration. And when you have so many young men who are frustrated and in pain and that anger, that unreleased anger, they will explode upon people. They will continue to explode upon people. And this is why we're seeing the kind of retaliation that we're seeing going on within our country right now. And it's only going to continue to perpetuate if we don't deal with it well in the school system in terms of how they deal with the grief, how they deal with the pain, how they deal with loss. We're going to find ourselves in much more problems. Yes, it comes down then to the mother losing a son. We understand the pain that helps. We understand the pain of a father losing a daughter or a son. But we never talks about his friend, the man that he put the block chilling with. You understand, losing that person. Eventually, it puts them into a place of anger, of rage, of frustration, of wanting justice, of wanting to handle that situation on their own.
Mhm.
And when they sit down and they talk to these young men, all they hear is pain. They hear nothing else. All they hear is misguided pain, where to release this pain, how to unleash it from the world, wanting to see this world burn because of what it is that they suffered. Most of them raised up with father either due to because the father also too was in the prison system or the father too was then killed. So when you come up with that hatred of someone who took your father's life or your friend's life, when it's time to see either what they call the opposition or the ops, so when it's time to see somebody who you believe inflicted that pain, it's just going to cause you to want to explode upon that person. And this is what we're seeing within Barbados right now. Too many young men not know how to deal with grief. And then even when you go to the funerals and you want to witness these funerals, you see all the faces bend. They don't want to cry. The reason why they don't want to cry because they are masking that hurt. They are masking that pain. And all you can see is bent faces. The reason why that's bent faces is because really and truly, all they want to do is cry and say, I can't believe I'm not going to see my friend anymore. I can't believe we just lost a good one. I can't believe. But really and truly, they are masking it and it's turning into the rage and the anger that we are seeing in today's society. And when you have young people that cannot find an outlet, when you have young people that can't go someplace to vent, when you have young people that suppressing it through drugs and alcohol, it only spells disaster. And it only spells that they're going to put the gun on somebody else. They're going to point the gun at somebody else because somebody else got and feel this pain. Somebody else got to feel what it is they was enduring. And that is the reality of it today. And it affects them mentally. A lot of these young people today are upon pills. Not prescription pills, but pills that they're sought out to suppress the pain that they're going through. And what tends to happen, it alters their brain to react and to release upon people in aggressive and violent manners. And that's the reality of it. But nobody addressed this. We talk about what the youth so, what the youth this, what the youth that. But imagine the things that these people see every single day. And then even to a social media where you can see your friend laid up on the street, brains all over the place or blood leaking. What do you think I'm going to do to that person? Then the person gets in his other van and then meditates upon that violent music every single day, saying to big gun this and to shoot them this and to shoot them that. Meditate upon it day and night, and then to go into then a school system where it's cool to have a gun. Where this is the only way then to survive. So this kill or kill be this mentality, this jungle mentality, then introduced as culture. And because that is what's happening today. Nobody talking about nobody talking is soft right now. Nobody care about being diplomatic. That signs of weakness. That signs of having a character flaw. So when you see young people operating in this manner, understand is a psychological effect that is happening to these young people daily. And nobody's addressing it. Nobody's saying, well, yo, these young people in pain. Nobody's saying, you should like that young man grieving when they can't see it. These people feel comfortable to go into prison and sit down, knowing for a fact that revenge them brother, the revenge them father or somebody along their list or somebody they looked up to because they're in pain. And if you don't address that, people, more people in Barbados can start to feel that same sad pain.
So you're saying that some of the guys that you're seeing in prison, they're okay because they felt that they revenged the blood of their friend and they feel a satisfaction from that.
Yes, and even if not a satisfaction, they don't know what's the next outlet. They haven't learned how to deal with grief. The same thing happens when a soldier goes into war and he comes back. He goes through therapy to talk and discuss the things that he see, how it felt to lose a brother, how it felt to lose a brother in arms. You know, they got to go through their process. But imagine you was raised up in the street where you know about 5 and 6 and 7 fellas that you was raised with dead. How you gonna manage that? How you can deal with that? And then what tends to happen is then you feel, you know what death coming to me too? Death coming to me too, so I can best get them before they get me. So they operated out of fear as well. I go and get a gun to protect myself because they don't know when they can come for me. So they're operating out of fear, they're operating out of pain, they're operating out of grief, and this is what we're seeing happen in the streets today. The majority of these here don't want to be killed, but they fear their own life. They fear their own life, and then some of them fear not retaliating because the boss man tell them to do it. Enough of them under the puppeteers of certain figureheads and bosses within this country or underground governments. So at the end of the day, they feel subjugated to a system that have failed them. They feel, you know what? Where then can I turn? How will I deal with this? How can I deal with this? And they're running out of options and they're running out of outlets. You just don't wake up one day and see a man got AKs and guns on it. He bed just like that and talking about he just found it. We don't manufacture guns in Barbados. And I'm telling you, the majority of this does not have a budget to buy these guns. They do not. They can't even help the mother pay a light bill. Furthermore, buy guns. So who giving them the guns? Who are giving them the guns? And then when they get into custody, why get into custody? We're not hearing what's the information, what's the leak? Anybody speak up on the situation? We have a problem that needs to be addressed.
But Zico, do you see anything that we have in any policy that we have in place at the moment that you believe that might be able to stem this in some way, at least at some parts of it? Do you see anything that is there that you say, you know what, Marcia, probably if we work on this particular area a little bit more, it's there, but it's not really working that good? Tell me, what do you see in the society, that you think that might be able to stem some of what's going on?
I can do one even better. Rather than me thinking that if there's a policy, I will let what we see in the newspaper basically speaks for itself. The numbers are not diminishing. The murders in Barbados is not coming down. Too many criminals or too many people who are perpetuating this violence within Barbados is confident enough that if they commit an act, they can get bail. And due to the fact that cases are taking so long to trial, you can go 15 years, 20 years before a verdict is even given. And by then, the evidence lost, this body, this witness moved out the island, this person who saw this person who took. So eventually, guess what happens? They walk. I've worked also with the court. I know how most of these guys get off the guns. Forensics. Sometimes they get the gun, but guess what happens? They catch the person with the gun, but guess what happens? The person said, I was not my gun, I never had that gun. And then when they look into the forensic, no prints was ever given. Or when I had the prints, I had to ship it out. I had to send it someplace out to get the proper forensics for it. So much evidence fall through the crack. And then if you're a lawyer, most lawyers can tell you this here, most criminal lawyers can tell you this here. I can get a criminal off because one, the correct procedures that the police are doing, they're not putting in place in terms of how to handle a murder weapon, how to secure a crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
So when it's time to defend a particular criminal for a crime that everybody know he did, he gets off because it turns into he says he shared and no proper forensic evidence. So then, yes, I can't blame then the judge for saying, well, I got free this man because there's no evidence. And then I can't then blame the police that catches the criminal, but then guess what? He gets bails. So then he open the road nets for the next 10 years. So then the cycles continue. So what I think needs to happen right now is that policies are now put in place. Policies that tackle this here, how we deal with forensic evidence, how we deal with murder investigations, how we handle the evidence. Because I'm telling you, the guys on the street figure out a hack. They know how to get off a murder case. They know how to do it. And if you sit down, you talk to these guys, they will tell you first hand, these are the steps you have to do. These are the steps you have to take to get off a murder case. They're taking too long to trial. By then, people can't find the witness, people can't find the evidence, wrong baggage, that happened, eyewitness account, and matching back the correct statements. these is things that I telling you, defense attorneys knows how to play. I said, man, listen, you mentioned this and now when you went on the statement there, and now you're saying something that's totally different. So then what happens when you sit there in front of a jury that have to trust this person is innocent? It said, man, listen, too many holes in this say, so then I have to give this a benefit of doubt that this person really and truly did not commit this crime because of the evidence.
Wow.
So
No, this is awesome
so many
because
loopholes.
this is part of what I have to bring it up again. Ralph Thorne was the first person that I heard talking about that Bail Act. Remember,
Yes,
he kept
yes,
pushing at
yes.
that, and but now they have a minister. David, you could get that picture up for me of Michael Lashley. He's you talked about defense attorneys. Michael Lashley is the Minister of Criminal Justice. Is that the title? I believe that's the title.
Something along that lines, yeah.
Something like that. And Minister of Criminal Justice. And if I'm wrong, we do the show together, everybody.
Yeah.
You can put it in the comment section. You don't have to scream at me. Just put it in the comment section that Marcia, this is the correct name for him, right? And he is the Minister of Criminal Justice. He's a defense attorney. And as somebody's saying here, the lawyers are gaining. How is he supposed to help? What role is Michael Lashley supposed to play? Zico, I'm not seeing you there. I think you have it. Okay, go back.
Yeah.
What role is Michael Lashley supposed to play? In the reduction of crime in Barbados? He's a Minister of Criminal Justice. If you're telling me that you believe that these guys, they have found a hack, they know how to hack the system to get over a murder case. What is the role of this man here? You think? Do you see a role for him?
This is how we looked at it when he was first appointed. And to be very honest, everybody knows his ambition towards, or his alleged ambition towards it being the Attorney General within Barbados. I saw it as someone being the Attorney General. This is basically the position that he has. So what happens is that he basically gets to look at policies. He basically gets to look at some of the bills being passed to help crime prevention and to go over it with a fine deep comb and then pass over the information, pass on, and someone else gets the credit. Basically, this is what he has. All right. The reality of it is this, and you mentioned it earlier when Ralph Thorne he introduced what he was planning to do and turn this anti-crime bill or anti-gang something legislation, something along those lines, something along those lines. When looking at it, to me, that more tackle the issues, the immediate issues that we are having today within the crime within society today. Is yet to know. Everybody know he's been a very successful attorney, a very successful defense attorney as well, and he know firsthand some of the loopholes that is at play. He know firsthand how to get some of these guys off of murders and what's not. He's very known for very notorious within the
I mean, he's very good. He's very good. It's nothing we're saying negative of him. Yeah. That's why the guys, when we talk to the guys on the street, they say Michael Lashley is the man. If they get into trouble, they go to Michael Lashley. We're saying, we're not saying anything that is bad.
No, it's a compliment actually.
It's a compliment. So
because it's your job to defend. Yeah.
To defend criminals. So how is he the Minister of Legal Affairs and Criminal Justice? How is that going to help Barbados? I know we have to go. Mr. Murray is here. I'm going to bring him in very, very soon. But and I know he would love to jump in this conversation. He loves to talk about these areas, and he loves to hear you too, Zico. Give me your last comment. We need to carry on this conversation because this is I'm confused.
Yes, my last comments on this is this. If there's anybody that has the knowledge or have the whereabouts, or no, not the whereabouts, but have the knowledge or have the understanding of the underworld and the loopholes which is used daily in court to see criminals released back on the streets, is this gentleman right here. And it's compliments to him because his job is in the defense attorney. You want the best defense attorney to help represent you. But also not having that at the disposal of the government to help secure and to help protect your citizens. This is also the right man to have. are you believed to have? You know, so I'm hoping, I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say. I'm looking forward to hear what the policies that he have to put forth to the people, or what he was looking to be doing. So far, I just hear you talking about the refurbishment of police stations, and you know, and this, but nothing to do with crime, nothing to do with what's happening in Barbados right now. So I'm patiently waiting. I'm patiently waiting to see what it is that he would do, or he would like to do. But really and truly, I am not that optimistic. Really and truly, I'm not.
Wow. Boy, it sounds like a conflict of interest to me, but I don't know. I mean, I can't see, because if he does his job very good for the government, I think he
Yes,
might be out
can
of
be
a
an
job
asset.
as a lawyer.
Yes, yes.
He could be an asset, but if he's an asset to the government, he's out. He can't. He's,
Can
I don't know.
practice it.
But he might not be practicing if he's taken up the minister's position.
But then also,
It's
so is really the question would then have to be asked: is this after his political, you know, 10 years up? Does he plan to go back into law? Because if he's planning to go back into law, and then we know he has his own chambers, you know, so the certain tricks of the trade, he also too will not like to give up, because there's people under him as well. You know, he has his own chambers, and he's not going to give a certain tricks to the trade that helps him to be so successful in that particular field. To work in terms of politics, like, it's a conflict of interest. It really and truly is. If he plans to go back in and practice to be a lawyer again afterwards.
Yeah, that's if. I mean, it could go very well as
Yeah.
we're saying, for the government. It could be. Well, Zico, thank you so very much. I know you have to run,
Yes.
and
Always a pleasure
we
being here.
just hoping you can join us again soon. Very, very.
Mr. Murray, I was looking forward to having a conversation, but I have to go. But I'll
Good
be
luck.
listening. I'll be listening in for sure.
Next time. Thank you.
Yes.
I love that. I love how you say good night, son. I love it. Good night, Mr. Murray.
Good night, Marcy. Good to be with you again.
Yes, it's a pleasure. It's really a pleasure having you, Mr. Murray. I'm so happy that you could join us tonight. And you know why I say that. You and I know why I say that.
No,
but yeah.
no problem.
Go right ahead. Yes.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about what you take 2 minutes? 2 minutes.
No,
If you want
I
to take a comment on this.
I don't want to speculate over Minister Lashley's possible role and function or whatnot. First of all, I do not see that if he's out of private practice and he comes into government, I do not see any conflict of interest. A conflict of interest when you're actively involved and involved more than one side at the same time. So it can't be a conflict of interest. Even when when he leaves government and he goes back into private practice, it can't be a conflict, because there are two different areas of operation. Secondly, he is not. I am looking for. I hope he gets a chance to present during the estimates. He's only been a minister for less than a month. Less than a month. Today is the 9th, and therefore I'm looking for. I hope he gets a chance to present during the estimates, especially given that because among his other duties is to be a minister of crime prevention. Crime prevention. The last person.
He's not the Minister of Crime Prevention.
He's not?
No, that's not what it is. It's the Minister of Legal Affairs and Criminal Justice. So that's what we were discussing.
So who is crime prevention there?
They don't have that anymore.
They don't have that anymore. I'd seen that when a detailed list came out.
Yeah, but we just showed. If you can you put it back up on the screen to see if we're wrong. But I checked it out today. And if I'm wrong, somebody can let me know.
But there was a detailed list that listed all the various departments under the ministers, not just the broad framework of minister of this. And I'm sure that because I was looking to see where crime prevention would be, and I'm pretty sure you saw under his name in the detailed list they had of all the ministries and departments under a good breakdown.
It might be a subheading, but if you look on the screen,
I know. That is very sorry, because we the previous person who had responsibility for crime prevention was Minister Kurt Humphrey, and we never heard I don't think we heard twice of him speak on the subject. So I was curious of where it would be, and if it is him, I would like I look forward to him presenting as to the policies and programs which he would seek to institute in at least the next year or long term for the department. So I'm giving him a free run until he speaks, or we have some further indication as to what his intentions are, what his duties are, etc.
Yes. Well, on to your topic because yeah, we're way over time. BLP has clearly lost its way and sold with housing estimates. So go right ahead, Mr. Murray.
Well, I thought about this topic after observing and listening and watching you and Dr. Ferdy Nichols and Maxine grappling with the estimates and trying to make sense out of the figures. Even on housing, you were given a detail. You're going down all the figures and looking for indication as to what the policies and programs were. But I don't think you were able to, because you would have had to listen to the debate in detail to find out what programs were what. You would probably have had to listen to particularly Minister Gibbs.
And I did. Just so you know, I did and made a summary. But go ahead.
Okay, all right. And what I thought was, I thought what I thought was interesting was that when I listened to debate, read reports of debate, etc., I listened to most of it. It did not. It made me recall when Arthur said that, or late Prime Minister when Arthur said that when he was leaving the BLP, that the BLP lost its way and lost its soul. So that is why I made it, and I would like to extend it. It seems to lost its direction and purpose, because when I went through the word, not the figures, the commentary, the outline of policy, etc., by Minister Gibbs, it is a far cry from what the BLP standard proclamation is: a better life for our people. There's nothing that was said during the debate. There's nothing that was pointed to during the debate as to indicate that they're aiming for a better life for the Barbadian people they keep with them. And we all know that housing is always one of the most critical indicators of a country's standard of living, or a person's status or class in society. Housing, education. But housing is one of the determinants that help to help identify your wealth, your status, your upward social mobility and what. And I found this particularly striking in the sense that the BLP had, which came to be in 1938, had been part from the very beginning of the early provision of public housing in Barbados for the working class, etc. The first set of houses would have been coming in the 40s. What used to be Bayland was Bayville. Then there was Deacons. Then there was Grisettes. Then there was the Pine. All those projects, all those locations for public housing came out of the disturbance of the 1930s, where one of the biggest areas of contention and dissatisfaction was the poor housing across Barbados, especially in the derelict areas of the city. So all the previous governments since 1938, both BLP and DLP government, have played their role in providing public housing for more affordable housing that person with the least or lesser economic means can afford to live in a decent house. They saw that as an obligation on the part of the government, just like they do improve health, improve education, improve housing, improve transport. So, and that was a standard policy based on the philosophy of democratic socialism, where the government has a responsibility to play a role in making these things happen for the public. And this was done, like I said, over succeeding governments, over succeeding years. But since we have been into the hands of the IMF, there's been a deliberate shift away from the government's role, a direct role in the provision of public housing, and making it possible also not only for the working class, but also the middle class to improve and maintain their situation in housing. So when I listened to the minister, Mr. Gibbs, he gave a lot of jargon, a lot of buzzwords, a lot of slogans. But when you listen, he talked about the mission and strategic focus of his ministry being dedicated to providing innovative, sustainable, and people-centered solutions for housing. nice words, nice language, nice, it sounds trendy, etc. But what does it mean? But then he talks about when you break it down, as I say, when you reconstruct it and deconstruct it, or when you deconstruct it, what does it really mean? It doesn't really offer any. A slogan is not a policy. A slogan, like affordable and people saying those are slogans which are supposed to catch people's attention, but there's no policy to that. A policy requires more deliberate thought and program and structural thinking and ideas to move from a slogan to a policy. A slogan is to catch, is a tool of selling to catch the policy. So there was nothing, there's no policy that emerged. When you talk about policy, you talk about what came out was that he introduced a term called social mortgages. I had heard about social mortgages some time ago, and I looked at and he put this was the latest it sounds trendy. But when he researched it again, refreshed my mind, he even said that that there'll be a new rate. Let me see. Okay. He boasts that there will be a new rent-to-own housing plan targeting presently shut out working class people through traditional mortgages. Traditional mortgage. The term social mortgage is as he said, the term social mortgage is actually a program that was coined and invented by our team members, and essentially that is rent-to-own. I said that. Sorry, Minister, but you didn't challenge this. You didn't ask any questions. You just probably read the script that was given to you. Because when he researched it, because I'd heard about it, I remember this concept goes back to 1891. No, it says.
I love it. I love it. I wonder if our audience hearing this because
right.
Let me just say something quick, because I mean I saw him talk about the social mortgages when I was going through the script and realized that there are places that have tried it and it didn't even work. So to say that he is that they coined the phrase. But go ahead.
When they research, it says that is a term used in Catholic social teaching and refers to the conditions under which people are to use the goods of the world that are part of God's creation intended for everyone. It's said back to the days of Pope Leo XIII in 1891 in a pastoral letter that he issued to all the Catholics. So to hear that this was this new revolutionary coined by the team, and again, you see, that is where you're going for a slogan rather than a policy or a philosophy.
Oh, Jesus.
All right. As a matter of fact, this even when so it sounds good. Social mortgage was supposed to give all right, but when Ian Gill, the general manager of National Housing Corporation, spoke, he said that it was intended to it was a difference between rent-to-own and social mortgage. The key difference being that with the new model, homeowners will assume the responsibility for maintenance and repairs, relieving the anxiety of that financial burden. So while rent-to-own sounds is not as glamorous, as trendy as social mortgage, the conditions are, and so while the NHC had been responsible for maintenance under rent-to-own to a certain point, it's now saying straight up front that this new program, they will transfer the responsibility for maintenance and repair to the owner, who now therefore has another financial burden. So there's more to it than that, and it should not be seen as a more fashionable, latest, etc. And I thought that was has serious implications there for persons who will go into this activity. What was even more interesting was that the Minister Gibbs said, having said that the he said, having said, he said that the hope, he said the NHC remains central to government housing strategy. He said the NHC remains central to government housing strategy, but still had said that NHC no longer was building houses. So the NHC remains central to the
Right.
government housing strategy, but the NHC will not be building houses. Instead, this role will be given to contractors and developers. Okay? So the role that the NHC played as an instrument, at the NHC, there used to be, before the NHC, there was the national, there was the Housing Authority, then there was a housing board. There were various agencies that go back to 1940s that have championed as instruments of government, providing conditions and services and finance sector for working class people to upgrade. That's why Barbados' housing stock rose too dramatically over the years since the 1930s and 40s. So there was an agency. Now we are having this work is going to be subcontracted, hived off to the private to contractors and developers, because this is a further indication that when you are in the hands of the IMF does not believe, they call for what is called small government. Let the private sector, just like the United States. So rather than having the NHC performance customer role, you can refashion it, remodel it, but without saying that no, it won't have that role. Right? And they used to, the NHC used to have a agency that they call it Workers Housing Credit Fund that had worked where people go and borrow money and improve their house, etc. So all those days are done. And what you're doing now, that you're leaving it up to the individual to get his own means virtually to start a house. There used to be a story where the government would give you what it costs to start a home. You tell them what size house you want, and they would design, lay down the foundation, the foundation for the house, and you would then build it at your own pace, your own means. All those things seem to have gone through. Instead, we're hearing the minister talking about. I want to quote him properly. He said, the revamped approach to housing sharply contrasts with earlier methods. We're going to be using innovative building techniques. The industrialized approach of construction as get the traditional artisanal. I can never from artisanal contract. Artisans are carpenters and masons and joiners and plumbers. Those are persons. So this industrialized, new, innovative, new, modern technique is what it is called. It is really slab houses. We get all that is done by computer and come and plant it on the. So you don't have a room. You don't have the room for steel benders and carpenters and masons and laborers build the foundation, etc. Now, all right, and this is supposed to be part of the. This is a phrase that he had inherited and has adopted and repeated from the hurry, ineffective failure of a minister of house, the last one, Dwight Sutherland. He was supposed to bring 10,000 houses in 5 years. That'd be an average of 2,000 a year. The last the Auditor General report said that they had built 110. 110. All right. So to try to promote this as this new strategy, that is, and he said hope. The minister said hope, the discredited, controversial hope, about which so much has been said and promised. That hope is going to be the engine of housing, using innovative building methods and pursuing longevity and scale. A lot of jargon.
Yeah.
Hope which has failed miserably, and now once again being promoted as the champion of where the minister says that we used to what he calls supercharge the Ministry of Housing. Supercharge was to mean to speed up, accelerate, to make it fast. It would be almost like building it on steroids. Then that's the impression trying to give. And when he was asked, when the minister asks the CEO of Hope to explain, give some more details as to how there's a new approach to hope, the industrialize instead of how this would work, how the advantage one, he, how it would have to supercharge the housing. He said, that's what he said. I call it this is the you remember the man from Suffolk who serves the CEO. He was almost he said very little. I think one of the ministers had been a result of the question of uh, Minister Carroll, and she like she wanted to. He was very
Yeah.
very brief. He did not speak like a. He said, currently we have the project Concordia. Now you ask how these new methods will speed the whole operations of how provide these 10,000, 2,000 houses a year, 10,000 for it. His answer: currently we have the project Concordia building prefabricated timber homes at speed, and you have quite a strict quality control process on our whole construction. Up in Salusi, we have a project under construction where we are building 86 houses, lightweight gauge steel construction, which are a fairly fast process, again being constructed under strict quality control, process procedures. What does that tell you? Does it make sense? Have you learned anything yet out of that? Nothing, right?
Yeah.
And that is the problem I have with it because, and I have to go back to, I have to go the IMF, Barbados, the IMF seeks to control. The IMF is not in the business. There's no country in the Caribbean I know that's ever been in the hands of the IMF for any long, especially for long term, that has prospered. All right,
Correct. Correct.
none. The IMF is not there to develop you. They're supposed to give you growth, economic growth as measured. They're going to be management and that will help you to qualify for loans. They're not going to develop your society. So when you put your housing, and one of the demonstrations of a country's sovereignty has been not only its physical borders or its ocean, or its economic zone. It used to be you determine your economic policy, your rate of taxation, decided your domestic policy. Now you have put yourself in the hands of the IMF, where they are dictating, where they have said, remember they stressed that they were around to patient with Barbados because Barbados was still maintain what they call transfers, what we call subsidies, giving monies to state corporations, statutory corporations, what they call state operating enterprises, state-owned enterprises like CBC and BAMC, etc. Those, so you're supposed to be cutting out transfers, so they're supposed to stand on their own. And if don't stand on their own, it means the public has to find means of doing it for themselves. And I say that because we have been made to believe by this government, which all I think we would have joined the IMF after independence in '66, right? But all the previous prime ministers, ministers of finance, have resisted going into long-term arrangement, structural adjustment, long-term program with the IMF. When Tom Adams went in the early '80s, there was a standby arrangement for a few months. He'd already taken corrective measures that there was no stress on the society. When Mr. Sandiford, he went for short term. But this program that we are in, we are being made to believe by this government that the IMF is a sweetheart, that we are so fortunate to be the hands of the IMF. But the IMF, let me tell you about the IMF. Jamaica, I have a quotation that I read from Dr. Nigel Clark, who between 2018 and 2024 was the Minister of Finance in Jamaica.
Yeah.
He's now the Deputy Managing Director at the IMF. Mm-hmm. All right. And he said Jamaica was likely to have lower debt levels, lower than any time in the last 50 years, over the next 2 years, if they stayed on current trajectory. But he said, there's the most important. Debt of the Jamaica type strangles the chance of a generation of people, right? Since servicing interest on top of interest over 50 years has robbed generations of opportunities for a better life. Mm. and it has impeded the country's social, economic, and national development. That is Jamaica after 50 years. And I recall Prime Minister Tom Adams telling me in 1981 that Jamaica would never recover in all that. All right. So we are again, and it is interesting that the previous Minister of Finance, including Minister Sinclair, including Minister Thompson, right, Minister or Prime Minister or after Minister of Finance, Minister Sandiford had resisted going to long-term with the thing. And what is interesting is that you've probably heard me talk about I've questioned the quality of the leadership. And the point is that Sir Grantley Adams had been exposed to formal economic training. He belonged to what was known the Fabian Society of Socialists. Prime Minister Albarra, he belonged to the Fabians, Lasky.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. All right. Prime Minister Tom Adams did his master's degree in politics, philosophy, and economics, so he had training. Mr. Sandiford had a master's in economics. Prime Minister Owen Arthur had a master's in economics. All right. So between 2008, when the government changed, after Prime Minister Owen Arthur, the Minister Thompson did not have he did not have a master's degree. Or you have to have at least a master's degree of training experience to be considered an economist. All right, at least a master's. Mr. Thompson did not have, Mr. Sinclair did not have, and now we have the Prime Minister who does not have either. So I think you can see a change in the quality of economic management of the society because of lack of training. Now we are fortunate, I think, to have Minister Strawn, who has a very high reputation as a minister. And I'm very glad that he himself now is a full-fledged Minister of Finance, which means he does not have to, while the Prime Minister have overall responsibility for the country, he can now be his own man and does not have to be constrained by other political consideration, which he, because of his training experience, might not think is best for the country. So he has a chance now to prove himself, and I look forward to see how he's going to perform in this role, now that he's Minister of Finance and not Minister in the Ministry of Finance. And this is important because I remember in 1994, when Prime Minister Owen Arthur won the government for the first time, one of the first things he did, we had inherited a situation where the IMF had a representative at government headquarters in the Ministry of Finance, called Mr. Krakow, I remember, K-R-A-K or something like that. And his job was to give judgment and approval on things in the ministry. The first thing Prime Minister Arthur did next, after sworn in, go to government headquarters, called the IMF and said, you have a representative here, kindly withdraw him within 48 hours, otherwise I was deported. And he said, because we in Barbados know what we have to do ourselves, and we can do it ourselves. We don't need it. All right? And that is important. But now you see, so up to that point, we have been made to believe that you avoid the IMF like the plague, like the COVID. Mm-hmm. It was we used to be referred to as the international rate server, the bailiff. That was the last resort. So you don't waltz into that thing. And if you notice, just like because the IMF is not a philosophy of economic and political development. The IMF is an agency, is a business meant to make money by making loans to the country for its shareholders, by imposing its standards. So when you pay a back loan to keep them, that is its role. It's not into development, that the kind of social and economic that we want to. We are accustomed to providing for all people, and therefore I'm very wary of any person who's been trained, spent a lot of time working in the IMF, because they have to imbibe the IMF philosophy and methods to stay working for them, because they get sent in national service to carry out the philosophy and the practical IMF all over the world. So it's a good career job. like our present governor central bank used to work with the IMF. As a matter of fact, even before the Gump was one, he even before he was seconded to Barbados through the Caribbean Development Bank to advise the government about the IMF program. So that is why they were able to brag that it got one so fast and so quick, one of the fastest in the world, except because the groundwork was being laid by an insider who know what to give to get the one. And therefore, I'm very worried, therefore, of any of the policies that are fashioned, influenced, or controlled by the IMF, because it never redounds to the benefit of the society in question. And I think it's something that we are in for a long ride still. And I'm not impressed by this spasmodic periodic announcement of growth of 1% and 2%, and that's supposed to indicate if the society if those paper growths and the IMF are largely concerned what they call paper growth surpluses, because it's all technical stuff that suits it, but it does not stimulate, grow, improve the conditions of the country. And
Yes.
and I think we have to find a way of getting out. And one way we're doing that.
Just to let you know, we have 3 minutes, Mr. Murray.
All right, no problem. Just to let you know what this industrialized approach promised by NHC and Hope, what it will do is that it's gonna, as against using artisans, there'll be less work. I didn't understand they had such a glorious panel that would join me. What it will do is we will be destroying a cadre of carpenters, masons, joiners, plumbers, etc., because there's no room for them. The money, and when you do that, why that thing is more industrial and cheaper to the developer. It is more beneficial to the country because carpenters make money, they spend money, they buy tools, they buy resources, the plumbers, etc., and that money rolls back into society and creates other economic activity. The government gets something back in fact, etc., etc. But when you have this streamlined, where very little manual work is done, the society is robbing not only of its creative sector, because they are creative people, carpenters and journalists, they are creative people. They are creatives too, not just entertainers. So we are really in the long term worse off than the other one. I think it's something you have to look at, because it is the artists who built Sears Court, Bell Plain houses, Bella, Deacons, Grisettes, Bell Plain, houses all over Rapids. And some of them are starting today using the concrete blocks and the steel. Most of them, it is artists who built it. I'll end here now. It is the artisanal approach that built government quarters, that built the public buildings, and all this tradition. This slab have not been tested yet, and we have to wait to see how long they last and what benefit we have from them in the long term.
Yeah. A great presentation, Mr. Murray, and I just want to add just two things here about the numbers, because one of the things that we do with the numbers is that we show from the numbers basically how they are not going to be building, as you have said, any new houses. So we were able to show from the numbers. And that's what the estimates really is about, the numbers. And that's what we want to do, to show from the numbers, to prove from the numbers that they're not building houses. And the next thing I wanted to say is this, that I'm also grateful for Prime Minister Frundell Stewart, because though they approached the IMF, they did not enter into any kind of program with the IMF, and I think that is all we need to also say that, and that is one of the things that I believe that they were holding out and trying their best that they could, under their given circumstances, what was happening in the world at large. not to go to the IMF. So all of the prime ministers, I believe, they kind of look at it as a plague, like leprosy, and not wanting to join with it. So I just
Well,
wanted to
yeah. If I may just substantiate that somewhat, because where that program came in Barbados, the money spent to White Oak, Owen Arthur told him he could have done it for them free. In other words, we abandoned our own intellectual capacity in Barbados to come up with a solution to the problems, and spent lots of money on a entire person of that because people either were unwilling or unable to come up with creative methods. Owen Arthur said he could have done it for them for free for far less than that. So I'm saying we might not. It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to have somebody examine that and see whether going was a necessity or whether interesting, effective, creative means can be found in Barbados to have avoid us going to the IMF, especially at the price we're still paying for it today.
Yes. Very, very interesting. And I think it complements the figures that we were specifically, when we deal with the estimates, we're looking at the figures. We want
but but figures are supposed to relate to programs.
Yes, we are aware of that. An objective, Mr. Murray, in what we were.
I went to the words, not just the figure of them, and see how. Right.
And I will tell you that we went to the words, but we had an objective with our program, and our program we were looking at figures. Yeah, and that's important for us. Yes. Well, we're going to move on with Dr. Ferdinand Nichols, who has some thoughts that he wants to share with us. Welcome, Dr. Ferdinand Nichols, and welcome to Mr. Babb, Mr. Alwyn Babb. Alwyn is back with us. He had reports going on there, and I know he's going after Mr. Ferdinand. He will tell us a little bit about what he's been involved in as well. We have a fact thing tonight, and then we still want people to call in. So let me go right to you, Dr. Ferdinand. We'll jump right in.
Well, good evening to this esteemed panel. I heard Glenn talk about being on with such esteemed individuals, but I think we are honored to be on with him. Good evening to you, Glenn.
It's always a
pleasure sharing the program with you. You learn so much from your years of experience politically and within the context of working with several of the prime ministers in Barbados. And I was listening to your presentation with great interest because years ago I heard an old preacher make this statement. He said, when your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep becomes your downfall. And what I have always wondered about is, what is Barbados earning? What income are we earning relative to our debt engagement? How are we going about repaying debt? Are we seriously looking to try to get out of it? As you were speaking, I actually did a bit of research concerning countries that were able to get out of the International Monetary Fund's clutches, and there were several of them. Argentina was one. It was a temporary exit. That was back in 2006.
Let me say something to you, Dr. Freddie. Be careful of the time, all right? And I know the topic you want to get into.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching.
And Brazil as well. And Brazil as well, and several other countries. So I've always been very concerned about the aspect of what we're doing to generate the revenues that we could get out of the hands of indebtedness. And I think when one looks at the whole aspect, Glenn, I know this is an area you're probably really very good on, of what I have often heard referred to as the geopolitical environment. When I look at the IMF and the World Bank and who controls it, who contributes to it, I see a mechanism that really is designed to keep this region, if you want me to put it that way, under control. Keeping good manners, so to speak. And at the end of the day, down through the years, we have always been influenced and strongly controlled, I would have to say, by the United States. But what we're beginning to see now in the Caribbean is the infusion or the influx of another geopolitical leader, and a very strong one, and that's China. And of course, when you talk about China in the Caribbean, you are bringing to bear some aspect of conflictual components based on the relationship that the United States has had with the Caribbean over the years. And I think this is something that is beginning to impact us significantly. I believe that it is beginning to put our governments, not just Barbados, under significant pressure. And this is something that has functioned with the United States now for many years. Where they, as you know, Glenn, they're one of the major contributors, I believe, to the World Bank and to the IMF in terms of financial support. And the old saying, what is it again? He who
pays the piper.
Pays the piper plays the tune. Is that it? Did I get that right?
Calls the tune. Calls the tune. Yeah.
Yes, and so I think that to a large degree, Barbados is vulnerable. We as a small developing nation, we don't have the kind of capability that any of these superpowers have, and to a large degree, we are very dependent on them in many ways. Whether that's good or bad, I'm not going to debate that at the moment, but it is factual. And I think that what we're beginning to see is a conflict beginning to arise between the United States and China. We are caught smack bam in the middle of it because of all that China has been putting into the Caribbean area. We know they're doing significant financing and loans in Jamaica. I think also in St. Lucia. I believe there's a children's pediatric hospital, I think, that was financed in St. Lucia by China. We have a lot of involvement here in China. And if I could ask a question, I wonder what are the conditions, because we don't hear anything about this. What are the terms and conditions of the loans that we are receiving from China? I have observed over the last maybe about a year to 2 years a massive influx of Chinese vehicles. And I wonder if there's any connection. I'm not saying that there are not companies out there that are looking to try to reduce the cost of vehicles in Barbados. And of course, as you know, China is one of the leading countries in terms of electrical vehicles. But when that begins to happen, and it is my view that when that begins to happen, the United States begins to pay attention. And it begins to create a bit of a challenge for many of our regional governments, because, of course, as we all know, China and the United States are at loggerheads with one another. So I really believe that this aspect of what I believe is referred to often as geopolitics, a geopolitical environment, is really beginning to affect a lot of what is happening in the Caribbean. We are hearing countries who are being restricted in terms of visa access. We are hearing countries being brought under pressure in terms of the receiving of persons who are being deported, some of which are not even from their own countries. And so I'm just wondering, how is all of this playing into what this administration is engaging here in Barbados? How is this working toward the benefit of the country and toward the benefit of the people in the nation?
You're asking my opinion, or?
I'm throwing it out there yourself,
Okay.
Alvin, even Marcia for that
Okay.
matter.
If I may go first. First of all, let me make it plain. I'm no more suspicious or mistrustful of China as I am than of United States or France or whatever, England or whatever, because
European Union, yeah.
there's an issue international of the yellow peril. Yellow peril is an attitude, policies that I think it goes back to the 18th, 19th century, where the Western world felt that the Chinese will come and overrun them and take them over. There's this traditional antipathy and competition, suspicion. There's some racism involved in it too. Also, I don't want to ever heard of the Boxer Rebellion, whereby he wants the Western world, France, Britain, etc., invaded China and occupied China for a while. So there's all this tension and competition and suspicion between the various parts of the great powers. So this what we're hearing about now is nothing new. And because of a lot of our size or lack of resources, we have always been vulnerable to the influence of persons. Not only at one time, France was on here competing against Spain, the Dutch. So that's part of our. We guys goes with the territory where we're located. But I think that a country has a right, supposedly, to, like Prime Minister Barr said, friends of all satellites. And then you pick and choose your friends. You should be able to pick and choose your policies, your program, what you see. Like they said in international affairs, and you say even in CARICOM, while we have a regional entity, right? A country has neither permanent friends nor permanent enemies, only permanent self-interest. So whatever is best suited to your country at a particular time, no matter what arrangements we have in CARICOM, we coordinate this, where your country's interests are at stake, you have a commitment to get the best deal for your country, whatever. And that applies all over the world. In other words, as the Belgians say, every man back for himself, every turkey look for your own crop. That really is the crux. So the rest is that window dress, but when it comes down to the crux, as you see the United States is doing now, other people are doing, they always go for what they consider to be their country's best interests as against what other people think or believe they should do.
Yeah,
one last thing, and as for China exports to the world. We are an imported country, so therefore it's not all that we will be imported. I mean, when you have a lot of these costumes, these fats, crap, whatever, etc., a lot of this work is done in China. A lot of the T-shirts done for the election were done in China. A lot of artwork. So China it exports to the world, and we just in our tradition we get some of what they export, what we think we require for our various use. So it is no big thing to me. It's part of what you require is countries having statecraft and abilities to maneuver, to make your judgment, to always maintain your country's interest first and get the best deal wherever possible for your country. That is the commitment that every country should make, and the rest really is just peripheral to that central core.
Well, I appreciate your explanation and insight on it, but I'm just wondering that in spite of that, we may not think there is anything nefarious where China is concerned, but the reality is that they are conflictual, I would have to say, enemy of the United States. And the United States has always considered the Caribbean area almost like its territory.
Backyard, please, backyard.
Yeah, well, I am being
never
polite.
Front yard, never in the house, never in the house.
I'm
Backyard.
being polite. And I'm just wondering in terms of how that aspect of the geopolitical relationship with the two of them is then going to be impacting us, because while we do have the right to determine what we do, who we borrow from and so on, the reality is that if America doesn't like it, it begins to put pressure on the Caribbean area. And of course, I'm beginning to wonder how that plays into matters of financing where the IMF and the World Bank is concerned, that we may not necessarily be hearing about publicly. As you know, there's a lot of dialogue and discussion that goes on behind the scenes. And I just wonder how that may be affecting things like we've heard about the BERT program, of course. I have to keep, look into the aspect of success of that. If that has been successful, I am just monitoring that. But, you begin to wonder if a lot of this is not as a result of our close affiliation with China. And as a result, there are pressures being put upon us from an economic standpoint, maybe behind doors being said to us with respect to that. So I was just wondering how the two of those would conflict our ability,
Yeah.
you know.
Maybe always has something to say. I have others, but I don't want to dominate the
Yes.
discussion.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I would just, and based on listening to these two esteemed gentlemen, I think that, like Mr. Murray, I am more or less seeing these countries, these what we call superior countries, using the Caribbean when it benefits them.
Mhm,
And I
mhm.
believe that we should remain with that saying from our Walton Borough, friends of all, satellites of none. And I think if we remain in that vein, that we won't get caught up in the tug of war. Yes, they may, because of their power, what we may be what they need from them is they may tend to force our hand, like what we are witnessing now with Cuba. I'm following that quite with a lot of interest as I read about it, as they start to disband the medical program from Cuba, and I'm looking at the end game and where it goes from here. But I believe the United States, China, and those what we call superpowers are the Big 12 in the world, like Big Six in the world. They tend to use us when it suits them their own convenience.
Agreed, and also they also try to use each other too. But
Yes, yes.
okay, they're competing for our attention when it suits them. But I pay great attention. I pay great to what the United States have described us as its backyard. I think that was the deliberate choice because that's a sense of superiority as against inferiority. They see it. Don't forget President Trump's infamous words of SH countries, right? So when you're on your back, what do you keep in your back? Right, your old rake, your drum, your this,
Big
your
toilet.
pride, etc. Okay, look. So it means that you'll be there. You'll be there when they want you, and otherwise you don't really mean bad to be. Look at China. China has been, for whatever it's noticed, China has been, like, for example, a few days they donated test equipment to QE8. They sent a ship down here, did surgeries. They've done some agriculture. What is the when last have you seen anything for the United States, any project, any program done for whatever reasons? Because it's not never freelance, but that we think that has been done, that has been occasioned, financed, and projected, promoted by the United States.
But you know, Glenn, the question that rises in my mind, on the basis of what I've seen happening around the world with funding from China. Uganda, for example, I think they got funding from China for an airport. They defaulted on the loan. China took over the airport. I think there's another African country that got funding. I can't remember what it was for. Jamaica, I understand, got funding for their port. Now that port is run by China because of a default in terms of Jamaica. That's the information I received. And that is something, in terms of our concerns as a country and as a region, you're dealing with an entity that when they lend you money, if there's a default, they're literally taking over assets, national assets, which is concerning to me personally, because I would be left to ask, okay, if perchance for some reason, whatever that reason is, we were to default on any loans we have where China is concerned, what would be the outcome of those loans? Because we don't know. I'm talking from a public perspective. What are the conditions of loans where China is concerned?
I would like to think that that we have Barbados leadership, both political and administrative, that we are aware enough, bright enough, have enough integrity that we can only do what is best for Barbados and make the best judgment. That is all I can hope for. I have enough confidence in the traditional Barbadian education standard that we would have known too about these incidents elsewhere, and we should not allow ourselves to lure into a similar trap with those parts. So I would think that we have learned from other people's experiences and therefore we would be in a way to protect ourselves. But but from what I remember, some of those projects that ran into things, there was a lot of corruption at the political level. Money disappeared, and they had all kind of issues. So I'm saying, I hope that we have learned, and that I would like to think that we are not there yet to fall in the same trap, and that we would, being conscious of those pitfalls, that we would be doubly careful, and that the public itself, including this program, will be able to ask questions, keep things under the microscope, and keep people's feet to the fire, and ask the pertinent questions at the pertinent time on the various issues.
And that's why I raised it, line, because when I look at the Hope Project, which seems to be, and I'm saying seems to involve significant aspects where China is concerned, and we haven't been able to get answers to allegations, let me put it that way, where the Hope Project is concerned. The Prime Minister promised an investigation. And I was listening to you all a few minutes ago, promised an investigation. That investigation has not been forthcoming. That in itself, to my mind, suggested that there was something amiss where the Hope Project is concerned, that the Prime Minister herself indicated an investigation into the project. And
True,
now
but-
we are hearing,
Right.
we are hearing, still under the same portfolio, if you want to call it that, we are moving into additional housing perspectives under the same program, if you want to call it that. No, I don't know if it's exactly the same program or not, but if it isn't, I would certainly want to change the name Hope, because there's so much that is negative where Hope is concerned that hasn't been answered.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I've been raising these things, because, you know, I was building up to this point. We're seeing these anomalies, if I want to call it that, I mean, I've seen the steel on the ground. It's been sitting there for years. We've heard about 10,000 houses in 5 years. That's 2,000 houses a year. We are 8 years into the administration. We definitely have never seen 2,000 houses in any single year. There are a number of housing systems, I'm sure you're familiar with them, Glenn, that could produce significant housing aspects. But why is it that we are seeing all of the Chinese production and product lying on the ground, not being utilized? What's happening with this? Is it something in terms of the relationship? What's happening? The questions aren't being answered.
Yeah, to me, the failure or the refusal of the government or the Prime Minister to give word on the promise or to advance or to complete the promised investigation or to give word on it cannot be put at the foot of the Chinese. That is a Barbadian decision. They may have, if Barbados, for whatever reason, chose to import Chinese houses and steel, and then that is a Barbadian decision. I don't think China exports, China sells to the world. What you do with your goods is your business. It's a business thing. And therefore, I think that is where the thing will be. Nobody, the Chinese, as far as I know, did not send down an aircraft and put guns to our head and said, buy our stuff or we shoot you. It was a conscious decision taken for whatever reasons, for whatever standards, and it has been a flop and a disaster and embarrassment. That is where we have to press to get the exposure and the whatnot.
Well,
thank you so much, Glenn.
Thank you, guys. We have literally 9:10, and so this segment, I know this is something Dr. Ferdinand will be working on and presenting some more on it. And I just wanted to add something to what Dr. Ferdinand was saying. I would ask people to study Sri Lanka and what happened to Sri Lanka after they borrowed, from the heavily from China to build their port, and where the port actually struggled to generate revenue and didn't have anything to do with corruption as reported. And this port had to be turned over basically to the Chinese after they were unable to generate revenue. So these are some places that you can look at for our viewers. You can look at Zambia. There was, great, debt distress and restructuring. They went and they borrowed from the Chinese for infrastructure. And
Yes.
there you had Zambia. I had difficulty, paying back and etc. And again, look at and see what happened to Zambia as it relates to their roads and airports and power projects. Montenegro, their highway loan, and these are things that people can look at and research because we don't have the time tonight to go in it. But Montenegro borrowed at least $1 billion from China's Exim Bank to build a highway, right? And guess what? That debt reached nearly 80% of their GDP. What does that tell us? And so this is a small economy, and that was heavily exposed to one creditor because that debt was nearly 80% of their GDP. There's the Solomon Islands, again, guys, that you can take a look at. And these are, I think that these should be of concern to us. It is true that okay, we do have um, we have a certain level of education. It's not saying that these other places don't have that, but we are really depending on people that, as Dr. Ferdinand said, the same people who managed poorly managed the Hope housing and the steel housing and the steel housing is that it? But the steel frame housing and all the mismanagement that is happening is these are the same people that we have to rely on. But nonetheless, this is I believe
Can I have
discussion
one?
that's
Can I have one quick second?
quick
Yeah,
second because we gotta
just
move on. Yeah.
just to say that I'm familiar with some of those countries and their projects, etc., and the fate of them. But I also read that when some of those were analyzed, some of the projects were never viable in the first place. They were considered prestigious vanity projects where people were warned could not be viable, but still they were pushed ahead with. That is another aspect of some of those
Yeah,
instances
yeah,
too that
and,
we have
and
to look
that's
at.
why I said too. I was really I figure you would have been familiar with them. I was speaking to I said to the viewers to take a look at those, and nonetheless, they were still loans that were arrangements with China, and I think that we just have to look at the whole thing in a holistic manner. But let me bring Mr. Bob in. Mr. Bob, we've
Good night, good
gone.
night.
Good night, good night,
Good
good
night to
night.
the listeners. Yeah.
Um, Look, we didn't even get to touch his first statement, Mr. Dr. Ferdinand, that you had said. We'll have to do that another time. Time is gone. But Mr. Bob, jump right
Yes.
in there and tell us what you're doing.
This has been a busy time for me. That's why I was away for some time, but I've been keeping track of the issues and following the estimates debate. However, I just want the your audience to know that this is not just a show of political, but it's a show of support of all Barbadians and things Barbadian. So I just want to share some information about what is happening in terms of our young budding athletes and stars coming up in the next couple of days and into the Easter weekend. And there you have the flyer for BSAT. And but I want the lawyer operation to know that NAPSAT finals, that's what the little ones from primary school will start this blitz of sports on Friday at the Usain Bolt complex. And then on bright and early on Monday, we have the BSAT zone finals. And you notice that the zones are named after some very important persons who contributed to the landscape of track and field. Esther Maynard and Shane Bradford zone, 16th and 17th. Then we have the Frank Blackman and Shadia Seeley zone on the 19th and 20th. And then we have the BSAT finals on the 25th, 26th, and 27th. Following the next week, before taking a breath of air, we go off to the Carifta team game. Sorry, on over the Carifta Easter weekend, fifth, fourth to the 6th of April in Grenada, and we made some kind of bit of history, and we want to applaud our young people. For the first time, I've been around going to Grifter since the early 90s as coach. and this is the first time we've had over 40 qualifiers, outright qualifiers, a record for Barbados. And even in the days where we got our biggest medal haul of 30 medals right here in Barbados, we didn't have that many qualifiers. But here we are going off to the games this year with 45 outright qualifiers. And I believe that we are going to, based on performances over the weekend at National Junior Championships, we can expect some improved performances over that weekend. Just to caution our Barbados support, though, that that qualifiers does not mean medal winners. Qualifying means that you have earned the right to represent the country in a particular event. What we're hoping as we do that the race and the competition is on the day of competition that they step up and they do our country proud. You will see some. I'm saying that there's some members of the National Junior Program who will be going around with punch cards fundraising. Please give them your support because that will determine and the numbers and will certainly help with the airfare, which can be very expensive and is very expensive at this time, especially when you're going to take possibly about 60 plus athletes to Grenada over the Easter weekend. So I'm asking them for your support and come out to even BSAP, look at the time and come and support the youth of Barbados in positive action.
And I told him, Mr. Murray and Dr. Ferdinand, that I want to be there. I love athletics, and it's in my blood, and so I want to be there. On he's working out something so that I can show you some of it and probably talk to some of the athletes and so on. I think that would be very, very great. I know that Dr. Ferdinand is all into this as well. Somebody put Freda Nichols, Dr. Ferdinand.
Yes, that is. I had my time too. I was
Oh,
second in
really?
class. I was second in class 5 when I was at Harrison College. I came second.
Second in what?
Second
In what?
Second in the 100 meters and second in the 200 meters. Well,
I'm
in those days
serious.
it used to be the 100 yards and the 200 yards. But yes, my sister Frida was one of the top athletes for Barbados many years ago. She was at one time holder of the 100, I think, here in record in Barbados. She was the world record holder for the 60-meter dash at one stage. And she was, I think she has represented Barbados at about 3 or 4 Olympics. My memory fails me. Alvin, you can help me here with that.
Yes, she's an Olympian.
Plus the Pan American Games,
Yes.
she's brought back medals from the Pan American Games. She's gone to, I believe she's reached the finals in the Olympics. No, the semifinals in the Olympics. So she is a renowned sprinter. And I remember my days, Alvin, my dad used to wake us up early, myself and my brother, to go to the East Coast Road to train on the sand. Yeah, there she is, to train on the sand. And I wonder, but why I gotta be doing this? She's the person who ran it on me.
Need a training partners.
But she has been very involved, and she has always had a tremendous interest in the development of athletics in Barbados. She's always not abdicated. What's the word I'm looking for? It's all these big words you try to find sometimes, Alvin. She's always tried to get more government support.
Yes.
For the younger athletes in Barbados, because she has seen where your 2 feet can carry you and what it can do for you. And I remember many years ago, Marcia, when I visited her in Washington, I think she was representing Barbados at the time. I can't remember in what capacity. I remember walking into her apartment and her saying that her entire apartment was furnished with her 2 feet. So it is, an opportunity for Barbados indeed to punch above its weight. I think we had a couple of medalists
Dr.
too.
Ferdinand, if I could pause you there, I think we
go
have
right ahead.
Caller, good night. Yes, can we hear him? Are we hearing him?
Very low, very low.
Okay, how about now? Is it better?
Can you
caller.
hear me?
Yes, that's better.
Yes, connect you, Marcia, and to the panel and to the opposition abroad. Yes, I was listening very carefully tonight to your geopolitical debate. Now, let me make 2 points here very quickly. I believe that we have been having relationships with China now for about 50 years. Now, let me say this. If you were to go to any bank in Barbados and you were to borrow money to build a house, and then you could not make your payments, the bank will seize your house. Now, in the same way, if you borrow money from China to execute a project like a harbor or a road or whatever, and you fail to make the payment, what China will do, China will seize that port and they will actually run the port until the port remnant of the money which is owing to them. Okay, so that is what China actually does. Okay, now let me go on to say here the airport in Barbados. The airport in Barbados is one of the senior airports or the oldest airports in the Caribbean. Yet we have fallen seriously behind. You have countries like Trinidad, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and Grenada that they all have very modern airport facilities right now. They have air bridges and all that goes with it. Barbados with all of its experience and all of its experience and maturity within the aviation industry in the Caribbean, we still are not a Category 1 airport. And that makes me very sad indeed.
What category are we? What category are we, caller? I'm not aware. What category are we?
I think we are two. I think we are two.
We're two. Category 2. Go right ahead. Yes.
And we should be a top category airport, in the Caribbean because they're one of the oldest airports in the Caribbean. So that in itself needs to be remedied. Also with our ATC controllers or air traffic controllers, these guys work very hard indeed. I have been in the tower many times, and these guys work really, really, really hard. And it is a very stressful job to do. Some people retire in their 40s because of the stress that is put on them. I think these guys need a better deal, and we need to be able to modernize our entire airport complex. Right? This is not good enough. Okay, so thank you very much, Marcia, for this.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Great contribution, caller. Thank you. Thank you. And I learned something about the categories tonight, and I'm seeing here, guys, that the category, in order to be Category 1, if a country is Category 1, it means that airlines can operate flights from the U.S. and other places. They can enter.
From what I recall on this issue, Marcy, I think there's some legislative and other administrative things that had to be done to take us to the Category 1. There's some laws that had to be, the parameters had to be established that would therefore qualify you. But it's a work in progress. I understand that is still underway.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, great. So I was just reading what the requirement was.
Yeah. Could I say something about athletics?
No. Just let me finish, Mr. Murray, this, and then you can make that comment.
Okay.
I was just giving just some general information on what the category 1 was. I was saying that the country maintains international aviation credibility. They can enter into code share agreements with U.S. carriers, etc. Okay. And again, guys, we try to do a lot of education on this show. You can go ahead and research what the Category 1 is. And as Mr. Murray is saying, that there's some amount of legislation. It needs proper legislation and enforcement mechanism to be in place. And as he said, that this is what we are working with at this present time. Over to you, Mr. Murray. You
No,
wanted to make a comment
yeah,
about athletics.
as I was listening to the discussion on athletic, etc., and uh, the young abilities being displayed at this stage, it made me recall that when I was at the Nation about 25, 30 years ago or more, I wrote a column in which I said that if we ever going to take athletics seriously, we should award Barbados scholarships in athletics.
Yes.
We should not just have to wait until somebody, a college or something passes away. We should say, listen, these are the criteria that you have to meet in order to get a Barbados scholarship. And award a Barbados scholarship, and therefore that will boost the image of athletics and scholarship. You get a wider group of people. Right? And that's more than 30 years old, but the idea is still there. Whoever wants to run it, I think it will make a big difference.
It would, Glenn.
You can get one in music. I know people who've got a Barbados scholarship and done music, right? Why can't you reserve one or two a year, one for boy, one, and give it that status, that prestige, that importance, and that value that is so lacking at stands now?
Glenn, that would be great, because I remember Frida having to depend a lot on U.S. support, because, of course, at the time she was living in the United States. She ran with an organization called DC Striders, who really were key in training her for the Olympics. They were very, very key, more than Barbados. And I don't recall from my memory that the Barbados government did a whole lot in terms of assisting her. And she can come on, Alvin, sometime with you and treat to this. But I don't recall the Barbados government really giving her the kind of financial support that should have been forthcoming in terms of getting her ready for the Olympics and pushing her to the stage of being a gold medalist or anything of that sort. So I would tend to think one of the things I thought too, Glenn, in terms of like how we see the basketball players in the United States engage, where you keep a particular educational level, but you
Right.
excel in the sport that you are you have an amenity to. It would be good if we could see some of that in Barbados and in the Caribbean as a whole.
Yeah.
Good.
Let's hear Mr. Bob. Mr. Bob, he's actually, the person practicing in the field right now. Lots of young people. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Bob? As you think about that, let me remind people that they can call in 236-7000. This is your time. I know I missed a call, and so I want to be true to my word. Go ahead, people, and you are free to call in 236-7000. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Mr. Bob.
I'm listening with keen interest with the conversation about development, and I think that over the years we have dropped the ball on the developmental stage and the investment in development. What we have seen though is that once they have achieved, we see persons then jumping behind and the noises and the applause at the stadium, but the real money should be put where development
Yes.
occurs,
Yes.
and because that will mean that the turnaround in our Olympic and world medals will not be so far apart, because earning a Olympic gold medal or Olympic medal or world championship medal is a work. It has to be nurtured. You have to
Yes.
see it happening. You have to pinpoint those persons. You have to, in our small country, we can find those persons. Look, here is a youngster at 13 years old, and this weekend there was a youngster at 13 years old who ran 48 point in the 400,
Wow.
21 point in the 200. That
Wow.
is a youngster that we have to take in our arms, and there are a whole set of other persons like him who we have to make sure, in terms of their education, in terms of their health, in terms of their nutrition, that is taken. But we will go to Carifta, he comes back in the school sports is over, and then he goes back into, and sometimes their home environment cannot support what is required to make sure that these stars move from the where we call the cradle of track and field in Barbados to the pinnacle of international success. And we are hoping over here that some person that that it happens. We are hoping that it happens and some person, but we have to be able to see where we can guide our youngsters to Olympic glory.
Yeah. And very well said, Mr. Bob. Dave, if you could put up the this is them here at this is Usain Bolt Stadium, Mr. Bob.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Usain Bolt Stadium, which I know sometimes the athletes will complain about the track, that the track is not the right track. But they are running anyway, trying to do their best. But Dave, if you could put up the back the poster so that we can remind people of what is happening. The next 2 weekends.
Yes.
Right, the
Over the
next
next couple of
2
days.
weekends.
Yes.
Go ahead again, Mr. Bob. Tell the people Monday the 16th and Tuesday the
Monday
17th.
the 16th and 17th zone final starts. That is the Esther and Shane Bradford zone. And then on the 19th and 20th, we have the Frank Blackman and Shadi Williams zone. And if persons are wondering what zones, remember we had the national stadium where all the schools were able to compete at the same time on the same day because of space, because of the space at the USAID Board complex. We cannot host all those schools at the same time in one big preliminary or semi-final. So, like for instance, I heard tonight that for the finals, and the school that you're only allowed schools are only going to allow 30 athletes at the finals because of space. So we are there of our stadium so that we can bring everybody and we capture some of that atmosphere that we had at Waterford a couple of years ago. And then we're going to celebrate with NatSat finals on Friday of this week. And then over the Easter weekend, we're asking them for your prayers for good, safe travel to and from, and success at the Easter at the Caribbean Games over the Easter weekend in Grenada.
It's in Grenada.
Yes, it's in Grenada. Yes.
Wow. Okay, that's wonderful.
Can,
Wonderful.
can I ask Mr. Bob,
Yeah.
what's the latest word on the progress and work on the new stadium donated by the Chinese again? What's the latest on that?
I think I have not heard anything in terms of latest, but I know that there's projection of 2028. I'm not sure what is the progress of the work there. And we've had an announcement. There's a track which is supposed to fill in at the same time at Wildy, but we're trying to get that track completed in the last 2 or 3 years, and we have not even laid one piece of rubber on it. And then I heard another elaborate announcement of John Jones Broken in St. Philip.
Yeah, Mr. Bob, can you just hold that thought there?
Yes.
There is a caller. Just don't lose it. Oh boy, he's gone. Caller, I'm sorry. I know you were there. I was just allowing Mr. Bob to complete what he was saying. Please give us a call back. Thank you so very much. Let me continue. Let me see if I can. Okay. Let me see if I call him, I'll be able to get him.
Yeah.
But if I could just quickly say, Marcio, Alvin, it's really disappointing that you can spend so many $1 million in Carifesta.
Yes, Mr. Hold a second, Dr. Ferdinand. Caller, go right ahead. Welcome.
Good night. Yeah, good night, Mars. Good night. It's Stephen. I was calling you back.
This is?
It's Stephen. I was calling you back.
You were calling back the show.
No, I was calling you personally.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're on the show. I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
No problem.
All right, sorry about that. But yes, we talk off camera. Thank you.
Hi, sister.
Yes. Go. I think Mr. Bob was first finishing.
Yes, let him go.
For that finish, I will pick him up.
I was just saying, how easily government can disburse with so much money for Carifesta. But over time, the National Stadium has been under commission for how many years, Alvin?
Too many to mention.
And you can find the money so fast for the Carifesta experience, but you can't find the money invest into the future. And we talk about our young people so much. But if our young people are desiring to do something, but there's no facility to facilitate them, then it is not surprising that they find themselves involved in deviant conduct and other things because they don't have a space to get rid of that energy. I see Frank Blackman's name there. I remember Frank as Frida's trainer. He was one of the best at the time. And I see a question which maybe, Alvin, you can answer. Because I personally am not familiar with particular question, and that is, do they have a Frida Nichols zone? I really don't know of that. I'm not familiar with that.
I think so. I'm pretty sure they do.
They do?
Yeah, I saw.
The NAPSAT probably do. I will have to get the NAPSAT zone because they're named after.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. I saw a photographer in the paper, I think Barbados Day last week, as one of the spectators at the meet in that zone. Right.
Yes.
And they mentioned, that's right.
Yeah. I don't unfortunately subscribe to the newspapers, so thank you so much for letting me know that.
I just want to say that while I'm very open-minded, as you would have heard in my dealing with the Chinese, I have a personal objection to call a stadium the national stadium when it was donated by another country. To me, it doesn't ring true. The first stadium came out of.
Mr. Maurice, now you're trying to just hold your thought there. This is the person who's calling back the second time. Caller, there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise. Yeah, we're hearing you, but you have a lot. Do you have the phone on speaker?
No, I don't know speaker. I have it in my ears.
Wow, it's a lot of noise.
I'm outside in my instant.
Probably that's why I'm worried.
The crickets. Yes, I just want to say, first of all, good night to the esteemed panel, Brother Ferdinand and Brother Murray.
Good night.
Hello? Hello? Okay, right. I think he's
because of the connection. A lot of static. Yeah.
Okay, right. We're hearing you right now. Because of the static, you have to be very quick with the point of the question.
I just want to say that I agree with everything that's been said thus far. And I would like to add to what Mr. Ben was saying. That is also one of the reasons why that they don't want our government of foreign allow the Simon the Public Accounts Committee, okay, to look into the nefarious business deals of this so-called project because of the money that was allocated for the $60 million that the former MP of housing, Dwight Sullivan, never gave an account for. So then they want to keep that under the rug. And we remain under this tree. I didn't have Mr. White talk about virtual. They haven't said more about bird tree and the ramifications of being on the bird tree. So we're going to remain on the IMF program. And that's going to now, like we said, none of the former ministers did the right thing. They were told they could go to the IMF and thanks God that all their answers.
I think
lost
it there. Thank you, caller. I think we have the essence of what he's saying, but we've lost him there. All right. And I think we basically said quite a bit of what he said before, so he's just confirming, as he said. But Mr. Murray, you were making a point. Can you?
As to me, the first stadium was built in 70-71. Or earlier than it came out of the funds of Barbadians through the JC's club, etc. Funds were raised, so it was truly a Barbadian effort. It was truly a national stadium because it came. But in my mind and my sense of being and self-respect as a Barbadian, I'm a little crazy about calling a stadium donated by another country as the Barbados National Stadium. May call it the Barbados Stadium, but national to me feels indigenous, organic, and being of your people, and of your means, and of your society. And to me, the two are conflictual. That's my peculiar thinking.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes. Thank you for that, Mr. Murray. Dave, I think somebody sent you something from to show you the Frida Nichols. If you check your WhatsApp, you will see it. Thank you, caller, viewer. The Frida Nichols zone. They were on Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. And they had their competition actually. So if Dave could look at that, that's knapsack, and you're correct. It's in Mr. Murray, that it's in the knapsack competition that they have the Frida Nichols zone. Did I miss anybody who was? Because I know sometimes the callers. Let's go to Mr. Bob, because this is his area. Is there anything else that what do you want to tell us about this area, Mr. Bob?
I think that the key thing to ensuring that we continue to invest in the development of our children, uh, we have to even look at the educational component. We're talking about educational transformation, but I was privileged to sit in on a meeting in terms of planning, and they were finding it difficult and much difficulty trying to include um, a sports program within the school, that because they were talking about schools of excellence. And when you talk about schools of excellence and you name sport and it's across the board, the infrastructure,
Mhm.
the equipment,
Mhm. Mhm.
the schools are lacking.
Yes.
We expect, I keep telling them PE teachers, physical education teachers are not coaches.
Mhm.
So when you go to, and I want the alloy opposition to understand this, when you go to BSAP or NAPSAP, and there are certain schools who continue to come to the top,
Yeah.
it is more likely that the person who is the PE teacher, that is their love. And
Mhm.
you will see it in basketball. If a school has a physical education teacher who has a background in basketball, they tend to take that interest, and you see it come out in the extracurricular activity. But I want them to understand a physical education teacher is not a coach. And in the same track and field season, there's basketball going on, there's volleyball going on, there's netball going on as well. So you have a department with 4 or 5 persons, and they're expected, because NAPSAP and BSAP preparation is a different kind of animal to organize in terms of your sport, your whole sports. And I'm saying that it is time that that distinction is made, and within any educational transformation, the distinction between a physical education teacher, where that ends, and when the coaching begins, there must be a clear distinction between
Hello?
those two roles within a school.
Hello?
Hello,
And
hi, Mr. Murray. You're here.
Yeah,
Hello. I'm not sure what's happening there. Mr. Bob, are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you
Yes.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
I'm
still hearing
hearing
you.
you.
I'm hearing him say hello, so I don't know if he's
Hi,
Yeah,
out.
Mr.
I think,
Murray.
and his image is frozen too, so he might
Closer,
have.
it's closer.
Yeah.
But Mr. Bob, if I can kind of move the conversation along a little bit, I want to ask this question as somebody born in Jamaica, being around athletics a lot. I wanted to know from you and from the viewers and panelists as well. Do you think athletics is treated as a youth development um,
Mhm.
investment, or is it a national a tool of national pride? You understand what I'm saying? Is athletics a youth development investment, a tool that we use to invest in our youth, or is it a national pride tool, or is it something that we talk about just seasonally during Carifta or Olympics? What do you think really when you think about Barbados? What is it?
Honestly, it's seasonal at this point in time.
Mm,
Seasonal. We get all that between the months of January to March, and then after that, what happens during the year, the rest of the year? I'm not only talking about track and field or athletics as vehicle. I'm talking about all sports.
yeah.
We have to treat it because if we invest in sport, we are indirectly investing in our youth. And
Mm-hmm.
there is a reason why the we were just discussing the top countries in the world and how they treat Barbados, all right, and how they treat the rest of this region. There's a reason why these countries, the United States, um, you have Europe, Great Britain, you have from the European countries, you have Jamaica, who will want to go to those major events and stamp the authority because success in international sports speaks to a level of development of your people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they want to, and they are not just satisfied with economic might, it's about physical prowess. This is who we are when you see us on the Olympic stage or the world stage in track and field.
Mm-hmm.
And look, listen to them carefully. When you see, like when Shade Williams won the gold medal at Commonwealth,
Mm-hmm.
they, they were all in awe because a small country could do
Yes.
this
Yes.
and could beat us, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
there is a significance about doing well in international sport, and we have to see it as an investment in our youth and in the development and the serious message to the world that we are a developing or developed people because of how we are performing internationally. And there is no and that kind of we have ambassadors, we have people who promote their promote. That is free promotion for our country whenever we do have it. That is why people still remember Barbados because of cigar sobers and cricket and what it meant for him to the game of cricket internationally. So we have to understand that and we have to really take a serious interest in any educational transformation at how we see physical education and sport within primary and secondary schools. And where
Yeah.
does it go? Where it goes and where it takes us regionally and internationally on the sporting stage.
Yeah. Let me ask Mr. Murray. Mr. Murray is
Uh,
back here.
I,
There is
I,
a,
I,
go ahead, Mr. Murray. Go ahead, Mr. Murray. Is it me? I always have to ask if it's me. I don't want to assume. Okay, there's a caller. We have a caller. Um, let's welcome our caller. Caller, welcome to the Marcia Week Show. What's going on? Caller, welcome to the Marcia Week Show. Caller, welcome to the Marcia Week Show. Yes, yes. Good evening, caller. Welcome. Could you turn off your device, please? Thank you so much.
Yes, I have you if I start out.
Yes.
Okay.
Good night, sir. Welcome.
Yeah, good night. Welcome to the show. Welcome, everybody.
Yes, sir.
I have some comments to make, some serious comments to make, especially the athletic and sport in Barbados. Sport in Barbados is never considered as too much for the average ghetto youth.
Mm.
Most of the talent in Barbados, especially the sporting talent, comes from the ghetto. The seriousness about it is that nobody is interested very much in promoting the youth from the ghetto. We are of a breed of people who seem only to be interested in the people of the upper category. So what happens is that we never introduces any programs that satisfy the people of the ghetto. I am a soccer player and athlete also, hold on to the side. And I know in Barbados, there is no one who ever promotes the people in the ghetto. The best and the talent in Barbados have always came from the ghettos.
and there's no promotion of the people in the ghetto at no point in time in Barbados. Next, I want to speak about the Chinese and the United States and those people. One time in Barbados, we had a country where the country and the people who ran the country, we had trawlers, fish trawlers. There were kings in the country who brought in money and brought in cash. We also had IDC, the different development centers in Barbados where we had smoking and different things where we promoted the people, even the people in the ghetto to make some money. We had the carpenters who built doors and stole different down in different places. And it was a problem even getting the money back to the people who did them. Barbados was a country that developed its people and the projects that the people did in Barbados. At this time, what I see is just the politicians promoting the pocket. They have no interest in promoting the people and the country. Next thing I want to talk about the houses and the building of the houses. We were just talking about Barbados and what happened to the Chinese and these people. Now we see that this government that everybody criticized before the election is now talking and hoping that every Chinese do this or the Chinese do that, they're got sex. You have to know to stop these things from happening. How can we be so frivolous to be speaking things like this here when we see what happening? We had investigations and supposed to have investigations and nothing came out of them. We had a man that leave the place for $60 million and he's back in again. That's another person taking over the rail. And yet we tell ourselves that we go to the IMF and borrow all this money and no time. The roads are not done. The hospital is not done. The houses supposed to have been built and we don't see anything going anywhere. The roads are still at the same state of affairs. And we're hoping that the Chinese will take over this and will take over that. We got some, we hear people talking about the economists, and all the economists can tell you how much money we borrow. And the economists are supposed to show points to the government in places where the money that they borrow, when they invest it, should be bringing in the money. This is the only country that borrows money and not bringing that to pay back. We have borrowed billions of dollars over the last 8 years. We borrowed billions of dollars. What have we gained from it? We can't even we can't find a project and say this is a project that $1 billion here that's going to bring us back $50. And we're supposed to be talking about progress and all sorts of things. I don't hear nobody. We talk about old things and all kinds of things. We don't hear anybody telling us about the projects that we have borrowed money to the billions of dollars to lose, going to bring back $50 or $60 to Barbados. What do they say? Who are the economists? I brought dollars to Barbados to bring money and food for the people. We had a dry up. We had Central Foley. We had Libisco. What do we have now? What is all this money going towards? Everybody okay? One of the talks that makes sense. Thanks so much to the people of Barbados. The talk about crime and the youngsters. All this money that bought, let the criminals, not even with a stadium. We're gonna call somebody to build a stadium for us. Why do we have to be borrowing money and all this money that we borrowed? Still, we don't have anything. We still not calling people to do these things. Isn't anybody gonna speak sense to the people of Barbados and let us know something positive and not just talk? We're gonna live and talk. We don't vote in the government with 30%. We're doing folly in the country. And now we're talking about even promoting sports, which is something that we get more people. The problem in Barbados is that certain people is never to progress. And as soon as we wake up and start seeing where the money goes and who it goes to and who always goes on it, we are going nowhere. We're not being reasonable. We're not being personal. We're not even taking a war on them. We don't like our people. Barbados don't like their one another. So this is where we going. We going where the Indians going to come in and take over. We going where everybody else going to come to Barbados and have a great time. But Barbadians, nothing for we want another. Nothing we want another. Just a talk shop. Have a nice night.
Thank you, caller. That was a lot there. I tried to take some notes, but as it relates to, I mean, you made some very interesting points there. But let's talk about the ghetto. He said he called it ghetto people in Jamaica. It was a ghetto or garrison people. Though and that's the truth for us in Jamaica. Actually, our best athletes are the athletes from some of those very rough communities because they come with all that determination and the strength and is that what you find here in Barbados? And do they
Listen,
get the kind of support that they need to get?
listen, Marcia. He's probably correct. Have you ever heard motorsport, um, surfing out there begging and pleading for support from their sports?
Well, I've
No,
heard
but
Let
cycling.
me
I've heard
let me
cycling.
just you say cycling, but look who don't do the cycling. But let me just say something to his to his point.
Interesting point there.
Listen carefully. We have a situation in Barbados that I am familiar with. That whenever and we talk about sports and equipment, that whenever you go to certain boards on schools and you send a requisition or you send a quotation and it is for spirit related. I'm talking from my experience. I know the others. There's always this response. It is too much. We can't do that. But I can point to situations where money was wasted. Thousands of dollars was wasted. But every time you go to have within your classroom, there's some teachers that have to take from home in home economics, in sports, all across the teaching fraternity. Teachers have to take from to make sure that classes, anything for students, is well done or meet the deadline for entries. I cannot understand how there are boards in Barbados sitting on school, people sitting on school boards that will pay more attention to purchasing um, lockers that would never be used, thousands of dollars. But if you ask for $7,000 in equipment to outfit track teams, it is a problem. And that is what that guy is talking about.
Hmm, interesting.
And it baffles me that teachers would can't it takes so long to get those things that will help our students to really prepare for exams, etc. And it's annoying. And some they have the priorities of how school is about the student. Yes, there will be capital works program of painting, etc. But it cannot compromise. It cannot be at the expense of making sure the students benefit. Cannot be.
Mm. Very, very interesting. I mean, we're at the end of the program, but it's something to really think about. I know, as I was saying in Jamaica, those are the ones that I see come to the top. Usain Bolt, Shelley and Fraser Price, all of those are young people from very, very, very tough communities.
yeah,
The
but
difference, let me just finish what I was saying, Mr. Dr. Ferdinand. The difference that I find though is that Jamaica, for Jamaica, it is not something that is seasonal. That's why I asked the question earlier. It's a tool for national pride actually and tourism as well for Jamaica, and it's a youth development investment when the government invest in the children and they do it from infants. But I'll do that another night when I have some more time to talk about Jamaica's strategy with track and field. But over to you, Dr. Ferdinand, your
no,
final comment, and then we're
no,
going to wrap. Yeah.
no, Marcia. I was actually going to make that comment. Because my observation with Jamaica is that they take children from young when they identify a skill and ability in the child, athletic wise, and it probably happens in other areas. They take them from young and they develop them over years. And so what we would have seen happen in, in terms of your male and female athletes, those who have excelled to the international level, and Usain Bolt and Fraser Price, have I got the name right there? These are athletes have taken from young ages and molded and developed. And this is the problem we have here. Frida was as successful as she was because she was taken from a young age. Alvin, you will remember Frank Blackman taking her from Queen's College days, when she was just young into Queen's College, and training her from a very early age. And I think it is going to be necessary for us to revamp how we look at the whole aspect of sports as it relates to education. I mentioned earlier, in the United States, there's a connection in between your academics and your sports, whether it be baseball or basketball or whatever it is. There's a connection. But here in Barbados, we focus on academics. And I will say one last comment very quickly, Marcia. Medford Mahogany. Any of you all know it? Medford Mahogany.
Yeah.
He went to school with me. I don't recall him necessarily, and I stand to be corrected, being a brilliant academic, but I will tell you, he was brilliant in woodwork. Look what he has become. Look what he did with his skill. And that's why I feel that we need to look beyond not just the academia, but look at the skills, look at the natural inclinations. It may be cricket, it may be football, it may be basketball, it may be athletics, it may be some other gift. It may not even be sports, but I think it's necessary for us to add that to our educational aspect.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Murray. And then because of the area, I'm going to ask Mr. Bob to have the final word. Go right ahead, Mr. Murray. I turn on your mic. There was a noise coming through, so I had to close it.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
I just regret that we didn't have time to explore or to interrogate the caller when he raised this kind of the ghetto, this grand generalization. I would have loved to have explored what made him come to that conclusion, see how valid it is on. I think that's an area that we could explore at some point to see whether those accusations apply wholesale or whether it's. I would just like to explore that area and understand it better as something happening to society.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Murray. And Mr. Bob, as we close tonight, actually, just before we close, Dave, there is a poster there. I just want to do it for Apostle Canterbury. Dave, I don't know if you saw it there. You can get it ready for me, and right after Mr. Bob, and that we can announce something for him that he's doing there in St. Peter. But go ahead, Mr. Bob.
I just want to see a serious approach to sports development and investment in the developmental stage, and not just the few celebratory moments that we get at the airport when they travel. I need the government, whoever they are, not just to build stadiums, but to build people, and to invest millions that they're investing in stadiums, to invest it in the people where they can afford to eat properly, they can afford to train properly, they can afford to have medical checkups, because they have to understand that going to physiotherapy or getting a regular checkup may allow the court to recognize that something is happening, and we're able to delay some injuries that may cause them to be out for 2 or 3 months. So we have to, and I will respect any government that decides within our school system that finally physical education is recognized as a department on its own, because of the critical and the importance that it pays to sport and development young people in Barbados.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Bob. And this is such a pleasant note to end the show on. We're going to continue our kitchen table estimate series. We will continue that on Wednesday. I forgot what day of the week this is. On Wednesday evening. And we will announce ahead of time exactly what area we will be looking at, because we have to wait to see what they're doing. Continue to look at our numbers, because that's what they estimate. It's about the numbers. We want to look at that. And then just to let you all know, remind you that on the 16th is when the actual budget is going to be presented. And we will also be having a series of discussions after that as well. But and as we're looking at we're calling it our kitchen table estimate series, which we want to see what is in the what do they have in those numbers. We are going to still have it mixed in with current issues that are going on as we did tonight. We're going to always have that happening, because I know a lot of you can't take too much of the numbers, but I think it's important to look at the numbers. So we'll continue to do that, but we're going to mix it in a little bit. So we're going to see you again on Wednesday. But just before we go, let me say to you that our beloved Apostle Canterbury is inviting us to an event that he has. It's something called his Vision Casting Service. And it's on Saturday the 28th at 11 a.m. And this is the old Pleasant Hall Plantation Yard, Pleasant Hall, St. Peter. And I believe this is where he now has a center that he's developing there, and have a great plans for the community and for the nation. And that's how it fits in with the show. And so we want to invite you to go down there and join him on the 28th of March at 11 a.m. That's in the lovely parish of St. Peter. That's Alibaba. I know that's your parish. And so we want to go down and support him there. Okay. God bless you all, folks, and see you. It was a pleasure to have you on.
All right, good night to everyone.
Yes, good night to all. Good night.
And yes, and also Mr. Murray and Mr. Bob. And Lightning Night. Thank you all so much. God bless you.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. God bless.
Good night, everybody.